by Scotland every time they played them. As a result, a man called Nicholas Lane Jackson set up an amateur side which would bring in the best players who could all play for the national side. And it worked. It wasn't long before England were dominating the international fixtures they played, and it was largely down to Corinthians. In fact, in 1894 and 1895, they played for the love of the game. It also helped that most of the players were Oxbridge graduates who didn't need the money. But instead of entering the league and cup competitions, they played exhibition football and toured the world, bringing the beautiful game with them. And it was this which spread the game throughout the world and made it so popular. Most famously, in 1910, they travelled to Brazil. And the locals in Sao Paulo were so impressed, they started their own team under the same name. Yes, the same Corinthians who won the FIFA Club World Cup in 2021, one of the biggest football teams in Brazil. Now, they were global superstars, and despite not being professional, Corinthians drew in the crowds. Everybody wanted to play them, everybody wanted to watch them. So much so, they regularly played the winners of the FA Cup in what eventually became the Community Shield, winning most of the time. They actually inflicted Manchester United's worst defeat, 11-3, a record which still stands to this day. Now, fast forward to today, Corinthian casuals still don't pay their staff or players. The ethos of sportsmanship is still at the heart of everything that they do. And even though they're a side in the lower leagues, if you make the trip to King George's Field in Tolworth just off the A3, you'll most likely bump into Brazilian Corinthians fans who often make the pilgrimage across the globe just to watch their founding team play.
A very good morning to you. 3 minutes past 6, Tuesday the 15th of July. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Build your own car deal online or with a few clicks. They make buying your next car easy. I'm Jeff Stelling, and with me right through until 10 o'clock this morning, Alan Pardew. Morning, Pards.
Morning, Jeff.
How you doing?
I'm
Long
okay.
time no see.
Yeah. Nice to be back here on the morning show with you early birds.
Yeah. Do you really mean that?
Yeah. I'm not too bad in the morning. I've always been an early riser.
You know, it's ridiculous I'm doing the breakfast show, but my family will tell you I'm hopeless in the mornings. Actually, the listeners might tell you I'm hopeless in the mornings. I'm hopeless in the morning. I'm a late night person.
Okay.
You know?
No, I've always been up and about. Well, obviously, when you're football managing, you know, your mind's active anyway, and sleep is not top of the agenda.
What time did you get to a ground? Then
I used to get there early,
midweek.
Yeah, I would get there. I would say about 7:30. West Ham was a bit tricky because I had a terrible journey getting round, so I had to leave even a little bit earlier there. But yeah, I used to get in early, if I'm honest, and see everybody come in.
Yeah.
Make a note of who was looking good and who was looking a bit tricky.
Okay, I'll be on the look at it.
See a few problems coming.
I'd be on the tricky list. That is for sure. Especially after a day like yesterday, because I thought to myself, just pop back to the hotel, a bit of a doze and watch the cricket at the same time. And of course it went on and on and on and on. And you get to the stage where you think, shall I stick with this or try and go to sleep? But it was impossible to sleep because
it was a great game.
Yeah, it was so fantastically balanced. And of course we'll talk about it a lot during the course of the morning.
Of course.
Now it looks like one of your former clubs might be about to make a big money move for this man.
Making his way forward on the left-hand side. Good run ahead of him. Oh, it's a brilliant goal. Lashed into the bottom right-hand corner. What a start that is. Hekatike's 20th goal of the season is a hammer blow to Tottenham hearts and aspirations.
Yeah, Newcastle reported to have submitted a club record 69.5 million bid for Hugo Ekitike. 22 goals in 48 appearances last season. Only 15 of them were in the Bundesliga, by the way. You had Demba Ba to keep happy and Papi Cisse. Pretty good pair of strikers, by the way, in your time in charge of Newcastle. But Usyk and Ekitike, or would you, if you were a Newcastle fan, be a bit concerned it would be Usyk or Ekitike?
Well, it's, the numbers, when you start looking at the numbers, they were pretty close last year. They had to tell, sell Henderson right on the last day of the window, the young superstar player, which I know Eddie was desperate not to sell to balance the books. And this one just seems to sort of take them over the edge. Whether the European money, the funds coming in, has helped in this, but they did need a backup. I mean, there was a couple of ways you could have gone about it. You could have gone and took a star young striker, which they've decided to do, or maybe took a more senior player, coming to maybe the end, like 28, 29, and park him under Usyk. But I think Eddie's gone, hopefully, I'm hoping for Newcastle fans, for competition, as if say, we'll come on them, 2 top strikers. But Usyk is the man, and whether
can't
this
pay
signing,
70 million for a backup striker, can you?
Well, I don't know. When you look at Liverpool, when you look at if you want to win the Premier League, he's going to have a 50-60 million pound striker on the bench at some point. So I genuinely feel that I'm hoping, fingers crossed, this is not Usyk out the door, because that would be the concern.
Well, that's got to be the concern, hasn't it? Whereas Newcastle United fans are concerned, and that would also make it incredibly difficult for the incoming man. He'd have to hit the ground running, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Anthony Elanga's already through the door. What do you make of that?
Well, I just think he was the quickest player I see last year, particularly with a ball at his feet, and he could take Newcastle up the pitch so quickly, particularly away from home. So I think that's a great signing for them, because Gordon isn't, Gordon on the other side. They got some terrific wide players. So, if you're a striker, if I'm Ekitike, I'm looking at that thinking, well, I'm going to get the service, but how am I going to get in front of this guy? What's the story? So he would have asked those questions. So, of course, those questions we're not party to at the moment.
Yeah. Obviously got Champions League football again next season. If they do add Ekitike or another striker, whoever it may be in the end, do you see them being, where do you see them being next season?
Well, I think they, I said last year, I think they make the Champions League, which they did, but I mean, it was a bit of a struggle to get there, they got there in the end. But I think, I don't really see them challenging for the title, but definitely Champions League. They'll be looking on one of the cups for sure. And there were 2 strikers like that does represent where the Premier League is financially. You're going to have 2-3 top strikers, and you're going to have to rotate it and sit on the bench.
Yeah, I think, as you said, though, PSR is the big cloud that hangs over so many of the big clubs. That's the elephant in the room, isn't it?
Well, really
very much is.
Yeah.
What about your other old club, Palace? Battles on 2 fronts, really, haven't they? Over their Europa League place and to keep some of their star players. I saw Jean-Philippe Mateta, or his representatives, in inverted commas, meant to be having talks with Liverpool yesterday.
Yeah, and he's obviously linked with Arsenal again today, after being linked with Spurs for so long.
And Gahey's for a long time been linked with just about everybody.
Well, Gahey, for me, will go because he's only got a year left on his contract. He's the one that's vulnerable in terms of losing. I mean, obviously they're not going to lose him for a fee that's not acceptable. So the fee will be, 60 million, 70 million, whatever it's going to be. But he would be the one I expect to go. I think Eze would stay. I think Steve Parish obviously lost that battle with Europe this week, which obviously you can tell he's very aggrieved about. And I think they will appeal. Whether that takes them anywhere, I don't know. Maybe just focus on that Conference League now and try and win that. But Eze's the big battle, I think, that he's got on his hands at the moment.
Yeah. Palace fans, Newcastle fans, get involved this morning. 03717223344. Give us a call. Give us your views on the season to come. Now, Chelsea were, of course, crowned world champions on Sunday. It's being pushed, promoted that they've won every single trophy as possible to win. They haven't won the EFL trophy for a start. That's just one. But nevertheless, Darren Bent thinks it's some achievement.
every competition they've been in, they've won it. Now that there, I don't see how you can say what you want about this Club World Cup. I personally really enjoyed it. I thought it was.
Did you?
Well, I remember I said I had it above certain trophy, League Cup and all that. I really enjoyed the tournament, and yes, you might want to poo-poo the Conference League, you might want to poo-poo the Club World Cup, but what you can't poo-poo is that every competition that Chelsea Football Club have been in, they've won it.
Yeah.
And a lot of these trophies, they've won multiple times. So they haven't nicked one Champions League, one League Cup, one Premier League. It's multiple Premier Leagues, couple Champions League, couple Europa Leagues. I think they've even won a couple Super Cups.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's right. Every tournament they've been in, they've gone on and won. Obviously, a lot of critics, me included, of the Club World Cup, but it's benefited, I think, a lot of people at Chelsea. Todd Boehly, because it's money in the bank, and probably nobody more than Enzo Maresca, because a lot of Chelsea fans, despite the fact they finished Champions League last season, they still weren't happy with him. You know, do you feel he's starting to prove people wrong?
Well, I have to say, you know, just with my manager's hat on, the two tactical plans he put together for the finals have been excellent. You know, the European game, it looked like, he's got it wrong. He was brave at half time. He changed it, put James in the midfield. It changed the game. They won that. And then the final on Sunday was a masterclass of exploiting an area of the pitch that PSG hadn't really seen them exposed on that side of the pitch. Mendes is a real, top player, but decided to play Palmer on the inside of him. And on that inside channel, he got those, amazing, almost could have had a hat-trick, to pass two of them into the net. Outstanding display. I actually think that, just on a coaching level, to make PSG look as uncomfortable for most of the game as they did was a great feather in his cap.
Yeah. Look, it was an absolutely fabulous performance. People said they had an easy path to the final. It's totally irrelevant.
There's no easy paths in professional football.
No, and it's a cliche. You can only beat what's put in front of you. And what was put in front of them were PSG, the champions of Europe, by common consent, the best team in Europe. And they pretty much wiped the floor with them on the day. We were already getting a Newcastle response, by the way. Chris in the tune says, lads, we have one centre forward, Usyk. We could be playing 80 games next season. Of course, we need another striker to support and compete with him, not to replace him. Chris, I take that point completely, but if you were Hugo Ekitike, are you coming to St James's Park to sit on the bench? I wouldn't have thought so, personally. Morning, fellas. Says Kurt, who's a Toon fan as well. Sure, you can have a £70 million striker on the bench. We've got a £150 million striker on the pitch in Usyk. And
he's already given the valuation already.
Yeah, absolutely. If they get £150 million for him, by the way, he won't be at St James's Park, I wouldn't have thought. And inevitably, mention of Chelsea brings out a response. John in Troon says Chelsea haven't won everything like most teams nowadays. They have bought everything. I think that's a view that we'll hear echoed from football fans who are of other than the Chelsea persuasion. Coming up next, we'll look back on a sensational ending to a long fifth day at Lord's. Good morning, this is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Build your own car deal online or with a few clicks. They make buying your next car easy. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with us through until 10 o'clock this morning. A bit of the Buggles for you this morning with the hit Video Killed the Radio Star. One-hit wonders, weren't they? It's a very happy birthday to Grammy-winning producer and singer Trevor Horn, who produced that. He produced the smash hit Kiss from A Rose by Seal. What a track that was. Seal was absolutely fantastic as well. But interesting text coming in here as we talk about Newcastle strikers. Here's one which, well, he's not going to cost you 80 million or 70 million or however much Ekateki might cost. But Chris, the Wolves fan, says Jamie Vardy to the tune on a free transfer, scores goals and can sit on the bench until needed. What do you think, Pards?
Well, I think Vardy's a good choice for somebody because I think he had a pretty decent year in a team that was struggling last year. He's always going to offer that same threat in behind. He gives you something different. Tiki is very much like Isaac. So, if he was looking for a carbon copy, I'm not saying that Isaac's going to go, but I mean, physically and everything about him is very similar to Isaac.
Yeah.
Vardy's a different type of player. But I think a Premier League club taking him on a free, I could see that.
Yeah, I could too. I mean, he looks as fit as a fiddle. I don't know how much pace he's lost or otherwise. It's inevitable that he would do. Yeah. But he's still considering Leicester's season last season.
And he still makes the same runs.
He did pretty well, yeah.
He still makes the same runs. He still gets away from centre-backs. So he's still a problem.
Dave from Morecambe's been defending Chelsea, said, really the listener who's used the bitter and lazy phrase, they bought everything. He said, firstly, all teams buy and sell players. That's how football works. Secondly, spending big is no guarantee of success. See Manchester United 2010 to the present day. Thank you very much indeed for that, Dave. Right, it is 6:19, very nearly 6:20. Let's take a look at today's back pages with Tesco Mobile for Business.
The Back Page Review on talkSPORT with Tesco Mobile for Business. Got a side hustle providing doggy daycare? Take the lead with business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big three networks. For verification, see tescomobile.com/business.
And Sam is back with us. Morning, Sam.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good. You?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, very good, thank you. Enjoyed the last 5 days. Sat watching a thrilling test match at Lords. It was an absolute pleasure to be there.
15 days of the series. What a series it's been.
All 15 days and all 5 test matches have gone to the evening session late on day 5, and we'd have it no other way. And I'm probably a little bit biased with this because I love my cricket, but we've got some great sport this week. Golfers have got to play almost the perfect 4 days to win the Open. We've got 2 boxers on Saturday night who are going to go toe to toe with each other in the ring. But there is something completely unique, isn't there, about Test cricket as a sport where you're out there for 5 days, 80 overs in a day, 7-8 hours a day. You got not just the physical battle of Test cricket, the mental battle of Test cricket, the swings in momentum, how India are leading up until this point, and then it can just change like that. And that's why I just think Test cricket is completely unique. Poor India are out there for 5 days going toe to toe with England, and it ends in defeat. And that's why for me, Test is best, and you just can't beat good old Test cricket.
Agreed. Completely. And look, I know he's not everyone's favourite, but I couldn't help feeling sorry for Siraj yesterday. The way he battled and defended, Bumrah of course had as well, but the way he battled and defended, and to lose your wicket in that one, he's a street fighter, isn't he? He's a street fighter of a cricketer, and he winds people up, rubs them up the wrong way. I just felt so sad for him.
I really like Mohammad Siraj, really skillful bowler, but I completely agree. He's the sort of personality and character that you want to see in these big series, right? I think one of the main takeaways from this series was the needle in it. There was plenty of chat.
Plenty of beef, wasn't there?
Plenty of beef. There was that incredible final over on Saturday evening where it was the longest over I think I've ever seen, where Crawley was trying to time waste, bit of housery, shall we say, and the Indian players sort of made their feelings perfectly clear.
That's got professionalism, not time wasting.
Exactly right. I'm sure the Indian batsmen will do the same thing, but I love it when there's a little bit of chow there, a little bit of needle. Mohammad Siraj was the main kind of orchestrator from an India point of view, but I thought what was really good, because you're right, he had to battle in that evening session. Really unfortunate way for him, the way he got dismissed, and the England players all ran off and celebrated. And for about 30 seconds, Siraj just didn't move at the crease. And I thought a really nice touch there. I think Root, Brook and Crawley all went over to Siraj, shook his hand, gave him a tap on the back. And I just thought, thought, you know what, there'll be plenty more chat to come in the next couple of Test matches. But I thought that was a nice moment of real sportsmanship. But yeah, it's all across the back pages today. What a finish, back of the Mail, crazy last wicket as England secured dramatic victory late on the final day. Simply extraordinary, the headline on the back of the Times. 6 years after heroics in World Cup final, Stokes inspires another nail-biting Lord's victory. What else have we got for you? Victory for the ages. Back of the art, they've also got a story about Shoaib Bashir, match winner Bashir, ruled out of series with a broken finger. He's not going to play again in this Test series. Stokes' superhuman effort. Captain goes to dark places. His words as he inspires England to victory. Bowled 2 10-over spells yesterday, which was absolutely remarkable. And again, Michael Vaughan's column is about Ben Stokes. Inspirational Stokes was the reason for this fabulous victory.
It's a Herculean effort from Stokes, you know, and captains. I mean, you must have had some great captains in your time, but you wonder where the heck England would be without him.
Not only his captaincy, you know, when there's moments of inspiration, when you need to lean on someone, he can deliver. I mean, the run out was different
a long time
class,
ago now.
and the timing of it was perfect. You know, and that's what great players do. A bit like Palmer Sunday, you know, you can see greatness in him in the way that he, you know, when the moment arrived, he delivered. But Stokes has been doing it year in, year out. You know, I like the way he kind of has a matter-of-fact approach to the media in particular, and you know, he's like, I'm going to do it my way, and this is it. This is the way we're going to run.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Probably also another story is, you know, Geoff Archer's return to Test cricket. I mean, there was that amazing moment where, you know, 4.5 years away from Test cricket, where he would have spent 4.5 years of watching his mates play cricket and would spent God knows how much time in, you know, doctors and physios and on the treatment table. So for him to come back, three balls.
Bowled that, by the way. What a great athletic Corton bowl.
And then yesterday morning, he, you know, the Corton bowled of Washington Sundar was brilliant. And the Rishabh Pant, I mean, the Rishabh Pant wicket really early yesterday, because if Rishabh Pant has spent an hour at the crease yesterday morning, because he's such an aggressive cricketer, he could have taken the game away from England. Archer produced an absolute beauty to bowl him, and then that Corton bowl. So to see Archer coming back, and you know, in cricket, you know, we talk a lot about Bazball and the great strokes, the sixes, the scoops. There's something brilliant about being at a venue when you've got a guy coming in bowling 90 miles an hour and ball on top of bat. That really is theatre.
And I see on one of the TV coverages, he said it's like 10 balls he had over 90 miles an hour, wasn't it? Yeah. Which is astonishing. But I just love his spirit, you know, that big old smile, the gold chain and everything else.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a bit of showbiz, you know, he's nice.
Knowing your passion for cricket, though, so I have to tell you, this is a story that makes me a little bit sad. You know, the West Indies, everybody's amazing from Australia. West Indies bowled out for 27, the second lowest Test score in history. Now, I go back as far as Gary Sobers and Rohan Kanhai, Hall, Griffiths, right through the sort of Clive Lloyds, Walsh, Ambrose, the great West Indian sides. But it seems to me they're almost at the point of no return.
Yeah, I mean, I actually caught this when I got back last night. Bowled out for 27. As Jeff says, the second lowest score in Test history. Absolutely remarkable to watch it. And Jeff, it's sad to see where the West Indies are. I mean, they were the best team, weren't they? Yeah. The best fast bowlers.
And it's no good for Test cricket.
No.
No good.
Test cricket is in a better place when you've got the West Indies firing on all cylinders. We had the last World Cup. The West Indies weren't even there. They didn't even qualify for a 50-over men's World Cup. And now look, we all know in this country, the Ashes is the biggest thing. Then the second biggest thing is when we face India. But for the future of Test cricket, we need countries like the West Indies to be good. There has to be more investment, more money put into the West Indies cricket, so there can be a structure in that country to produce good cricketers.
So should we be supporting? I mean, you look at the Test match, you know, 5 days, full house, £100 plus a pop at, you know, at Lord's. Should we be financially supporting the West Indies?
Everybody should. And that has to come at the top of the ICC. It all comes down to revenue. It's got to be a better share of revenue, of funds. It's all well and good giving India this and giving India that. And we all know why we do that, because they're the biggest country and there's so much money that comes from them. But I promise you, Jeff, for the future of Test cricket to be stronger and stronger and stronger, stronger. It can't just be the 3 teams going strong. We need the West Indies to be strong. We need New Zealand, South Africa to be strong. And to watch the West Indies be absolutely skittled last night in front of next to nobody watching, it's no good.
No, it's really sad. On the other hand, doesn't offset the Ashes up nicely, doesn't it? Mitchell Stark.
6 for 9.
6 for 9, 5 wickets in 15 balls. Whoa. I mean,
Zach Crawley might have got back last night from Lords thinking, whoa, goodness me. I'm not sure I fancy facing this in a couple of months' time. Also, how do all of Australia's, they've got 4 really good bowlers, they never seem to get injured.
No.
Every time they play Test cricket, they're just there.
They never seem to get older either.
No, I know.
I mean, Mitchell Stark seems to have been around for years and years,
right?
and years.
It's crazy.
Incredible. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, guys.
And that was a look at today's back pages with Tesco Mobile for Business.
The Back Page Review on talkSPORT with Tesco Mobile for Business. Got a side hustle providing doggy daycare? Take the lead with business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big 3 networks. For verification, see tescomobile.com/business.
Up next, we'll be looking ahead to one of the great events of the sporting calendar, the Open.
Shin pads are a footballer's best friend. Even if players like Jack Grealish do wear such small ones you can barely even see them. But what's the story with shin pads, and are there actually any rules on how big they should be? It all started with cricket, actually. Cricketers had been wearing shin pads since the 1700s. It was thanks to this guy that shin protection made its way over to football. Meet Samuel Widdowson. He was a cricketer and a footballer. He played for Nottingham Forest back in the late 1800s, and he wanted a way to protect his legs from nasty tackles. Naturally, his mind drifted to his other favourite sport, where players had been wearing these pads for a century. Story goes, Widdowson cut up his cricket pads and popped them on before taking to the footy pitch. His Nottingham Forest team then began wearing them from 1887, and the first known use of them in a match was in 1894, in a match between Newcastle and the then Woolwich Arsenal. Eventually, FIFA clocked on that this kind of protection was pretty important for footballers. And so, in 1990, basically 100 years after Widdowson first put them on, shin pads were made compulsory. It became part of Law 4 of IFAB. That's the body responsible for setting the laws of the game internationally. But the law doesn't actually specify anything about measurements of shin pads. It just says they must be made of a suitable material and be of an appropriate size to provide reasonable protection. It's really vague, even though there have been calls for it to be changed. But for now, that's why Grealish and co can still get away with these ones, which are no bigger than a credit card and which seem to offer little to no protection whatsoever.
very good morning to you. 6:33, Tuesday the 15th of July. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Alan Clark. Get the UK's best used car deals guaranteed. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with me. Jill's a regular contributor to the show. Morning to you, Jill. She says, morning. Imagine my delight turning on breakfast. There are my two favourite silver foxes. Well, I'll tell you what, Jill. Pards is a lot more silver than I am.
Well, I'm almost white now. That grey.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you describe me as. It's just sort of, well, I don't know really. Bits of silver in
badgerish.
Badgerish. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, badgerish. Anyway, morning to you, Jill. We're with you right through until 10 o'clock. Now, this man, oh, what a player, is on the move.
Modric calling for it, 25 yards out, thought about a drive on his right, checks back onto his right again. Oh, what a goal! What a goal from Luka Modric to decide it surely. A right-footed drive from 25 yards out.
Luka Modric just signed a contract with AC Milan and he is 40 in September. So, Pards, I'm sure you've managed against him on many an occasion. How do you rate him? How high up that scale is he?
Well, I think actually in terms of the move, that's a good choice by him because the Serie A sort of style would suit him. You know, obviously his physical attributes of slowly diminishing, but as a player, the elegance of the man and the way he could just slow the game down. And in a tempo game where it's, crashing around, he would just get it for 10 minutes and just, keep it, borrow it to somebody, get it back, and then find an incision pass through you. He was a delight to watch, not great to come up against, I've got to be honest, but what a career he's having. And, it's still not over, off to AC Milan.
When in years to come we look back and reflect on great players, of the 20th century, 21st century as it is. Will Modric be in that discussion?
Well, you'd have to put him somewhere in that discussion because, what he's achieved at Real Madrid in particular has been quite astonishing. When you think that himself and Gareth Bale was at the same time at Spurs in that team, and I know Harry, when he talks about Modric, he says one of the best people, let alone footballers, that you could possibly meet. And that's always a nice little caveat to have, isn't it? Not just as a great player, a great person.
Careful, because you're making Spurs fans upset at the moment talking about Gareth Bale and Luka Modric.
They're quite happy at the moment. I mean, can't make being busy. Daniel Levy's got his, he's got his purse out.
They are happy at the moment because the season hasn't started yet. Yeah. Sorry, Spurs fans. I'm sure it's going to be different this year, and I genuinely.
We got Madge on later. Be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll give me a bit of stick. Now, this fantastic summer of sport just keeps going and going and going. And, of course, this week, Thursday, the Open gets underway at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland. One of the best weeks of the year, always one of the best weeks of the year. And Rory McIlroy looking to make full use of familiar conditions.
19, I probably tried to isolate. And I think it's better. I think it's better for everyone if I embrace it. It's nice to be able to accept adulation, even though I struggle with it at times. But it's also nice for the person that is seeing you for the first time in a few years. And, so it just makes for a better interaction and not trying to hide away from it. So, yeah, I think it's more of a, embrace, everything that's going to come my way this week and not try to shy away from it or hide away from it. And I think that'll make for a better experience for everyone involved.
Yeah, last time the Open was at Royal Portrush, Rory opened up with a quadruple bogey 8 at the first round 79. I think it's easy to underestimate the pressure of expectation on his shoulders when he's playing in front of his home crowd.
Yeah, particularly at the start of rounds. I always think the golfers under, external pressures suffer at the start. Once they get into the, into the kind of rhythm of their game, then they kind of, they can focus a little bit. But I would worry for Rory, particularly at the start of each round, because the pressure on him out there, it will be enormous.
Yeah.
Everybody every Irish person expected him to win, and he's still got to, compete against the world's greatest golfers. And the margins, in any sport are so finite, so small that it's going to be difficult for him to get it over the line. But you know, we won the Masters in those great scenes, and we hope those scenes are going to be repeated Sunday night.
Yeah, he literally said, when he played at Royal Portrush in 2019, he wasn't ready for the ovation that he got on the first tee, which, when you think that he is a world superstar, it is hard to imagine. Look, let's cross over to Northern Ireland and say a very good morning to talkSPORT's golf reporter, Sean O'Brien. Morning, Sean.
Morning, guys. How are we doing?
Yeah, really good, really good. Look, massive pressure on Rory's shoulders, but he's going into the Open happy with his game at the moment. Well, happier with his game than he is with his haircut.
Yeah, he actually explained that haircut at the Scottish Open. He said he was trying to get rid of the greys, so he could have been joining you guys as one of the silver foxes that you were mentioning earlier. It didn't quite work out for him, but he's hoping it grows back by the time the Ryder Cup comes around.
I could have told him that. I've tried to cut it off many times. It just gets worse.
It just looks, when you had your haircut, it just looks more grey.
Yeah,
it looks more grey. We could have told him that.
Yeah, he learnt the hard way. But as you mentioned, so much pressure on him. And there was a brilliant moment in the press conference yesterday where one of the journos said, well, you're coming here with the green jacket, the career Grand Slam under your belt, so the pressure's off. And he turned around to me and went, is the pressure off, really? Because everyone remembers what happened here in 2019, that horrible moment on the first tee where he hit his tee shot out of bounds. That first hole, by the way, here at Portrush is one of the hardest on the open rotor. It played over par in 2019. And yeah, he basically shot himself out of the tournament before it even began. And of course, he does have the Masters under his belt. He does have the career Grand Slam, but he said yesterday that he circled this event at the start of the year, almost above the Masters. It's that important to him. And he's gone about it differently this year. He flew straight from the Scottish Open to Portrush, got 4 hours sleep. He was the first practice round out at 7 a.m. yesterday on his own, 2 hours before everyone else. And he said that, yeah, he isolated in 2019, and that's why the ovation took him by surprise. And this year he's just going to embrace everything. So nothing's going to take him by surprise this time around. And of course, this is somewhere that has such horrible memories for him, but at the same time, it's a homecoming. It's the place where he broke the course record, shot 61 as a 16-year-old all those years ago. And many consider that to be one of the greatest rounds of golf ever played. We asked him about that yesterday. He said it's the first time he really got into that kind of flow state that athletes talk about. So there's plenty of fond memories he can channel here as well. And while we remember that first round in 2019, the second round was electric. He almost battled all the way back to make the cut. And do you know what? People have won tournaments from the cut line on Friday, and the way he was going, I tell you what, if he crept inside that cut line, who knows what would have happened in 2019. So I think we're all just delighted that we get to see round two so soon. 6 years isn't a very long time in terms of open rotors, so it's brilliant that we're back at Portrush.
I mean, you were talking playing in front of pressure of playing in front of a home crowd, but of course it's worth remembering, didn't affect Shane Lowry, did it? Who won in 2019.
Yeah, and that was one of the all-time great Open victories. I mean, many consider his 63 in 2019 to be the new course record because it's changed so much, Portrush, since Rory shot 61 as a 16-year-old. But yeah, those scenes when Shane Lowry won in 2019, I remember the videos that did the rounds on social media. It was a victory for all of Ireland, wasn't it? The island of Ireland. And he was talking to the press yesterday as well, and he was saying how the actual build-up to the Open in 2019, he was playing terribly. And one of his main concerns right now is actually that he's playing really, really well. So he was almost joking that he's almost, if he wants to channel any of that kind of energy from 2019, he needs to see his game dip in the next 2 days. But yeah, Shane Lowry will have unbelievable support out here. Always a really popular guy. And then you're looking elsewhere at people like Tommy Fleetwood will have a really, really strong following here. He's been in excellent form lately. Someone like Tyrrell Hatton, Matt Fitzpatrick was playing really well yesterday. Always kind of incredible support for these people at the Open. So you're right to mention it's not just Rory McIlroy who have that pressure on his shoulders.
Well, the one thing you can always be assured of with Rory is a roller coaster kind of ride. He never sort of gets to the front and just steams on, does he? He's always like ups and downs, and usually at the start he suffers those nerves. But I personally would love to see Rory win it. But if he doesn't win it, Tommy Fleetwood, after missing out, in that tournament, I just really hope he has a great weekend.
So do I. He's such a likeable bloke. An unbelievable golfer. In terms of the generational talents out there, it is an injustice that he hasn't won a PGA Tour event just yet. Of course, he has won plenty of times on the DP World Tour, the old European Tour. He's won all over the world, but he does seem to have this thing when it comes to winning the big events over in America and at the majors. He's contended plenty of times at the majors, and I've kind of gone from thinking, oh, he's due one, to thinking when he gets into contention, is there a problem there? He'll put himself in contention multiple times in the future. There's no doubt about that. I think we just need to see him get over the line at one of these things now, because it's starting to become a little bit of a trend, a little bit of a pattern. And the more that happens, the more I imagine it gets into your own head. As in, I've been here before. I've not seen myself get over the line. I think it would be great if he was able to just give himself a 5 or 6 shot lead at one of these things, and he didn't have to go down the 18th fairway like he did at that PGA Tour event a few weeks ago and hold on for par. I think if he just got himself way out in front, that would be the way Tommy Fleetwood gets it done. But he is far too good to finish his career without winning one of the big ones.
Oh my word, he would be a popular winner, no question. Sean, thank you very much. Have a great week.
Cheers, Sean.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
The Open Golf Championship getting underway on Thursday morning. Dan, the Fulham fans this morning. Jeff, can you ask Alan if he's worried about Fulham's lack of transfers in this window? What does he think we need? We'll ask him a bit later on, Dan. And Darren, I had a slight tiny little dig at Spurs. Nothing more than a tiny little dig.
Now be careful.
And Darren, who's a regular contributor, says, hello, Victor Meldrew. Not all Spurs fans are miserable and unrealistic. I just love my Spurs and I moan a little bit. You're the captain of misery who's taken Mr. Giggles under your wing. I assume that's Coisty. Don't do the same to Pards. I quote Monty Python. Always look on the bright side of life. Darren, thank you very much indeed. Good morning to you, mate. Right, still to come on breakfast.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. Find everything you need for your landscaping project in stock and available for delivery. Terms and conditions apply.
Harry Symeou will be with us to chat Arsenal and their transfer business so far this summer. We'll ask him if he's excited by Eza potentially coming in. And we'll get the view from the other side of North London. We'll be joined by the Spurs fan Majestic, as Mohamed Kudus has already put pen to paper. And he bleeds Spurs already. At least he tells us he does. More on that later. That was our look ahead with Travis Perkins.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. Join the club and get low trade prices. Find out more at travisperkins.co.uk or download the app.
morning, almost 10 minutes to 7, Tuesday the 15th of July. This is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with me today. Some of the headlines you're waking to this morning. Newcastle have made a move to sign the Eintracht Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike. Sources say Newcastle are exploring a potential deal to sign the Frenchman, who would probably cost more than £70 million. And after England's heroics against India yesterday, Captain Ben Stokes was surprised that Jofra Archer didn't know about one of cricket's famous anniversaries.
I just said to him this morning, I said, you know what today is, don't you? And there was that, it's funny, you know that highlight package from, I think, when India knocked off like 300 odd back in the day when Ganguly, he thought that was the World Cup final as well. He thought that was 6 years today. Genuine. And I was like, no, that World Cup that we won. He was like, oh, that one. Gosh, he's an absolute beauty, that boy.
So, Pards, how are you on anniversaries?
Yeah, not great.
No, me neither.
Great,
yeah,
no, been caught out a few times on that one.
Anniversaries, birthdays, definitely not going to criticise Jofra Archer. It was great to see him back, though. That was for sure.
Absolutely.
And talking about being great to see somebody back, Sam Allard is back with us as well. Hi again, Sam.
Who wears short shorts? We wear short shorts. Wear short shorts. We like short shorts.
The warning lights are flashing when we hear something like that playing.
Wow. I mean, is it normally at this time of the morning where somebody sits in this chair and throws you some more rogue, left-field fun stories in the front page of the newspapers?
Yes.
You look worried, Jeff.
I am. I'm always worried.
Don't be worried. You must be used to this by now, no?
Never get used to it, because you never know what is coming. You've seen what sort of stories are in the tabloids. You never know what's going to be thrown at you.
Well, how about this then in the Sun this morning? Pupils picketed a school after a heatwave ban on boys wearing shorts. 10 lads and 5 girls waved signs including "Free the legs." There we go. Hashtag free the legs.
You wouldn't want to free my legs, mate.
In a recent poll, and very important poll, 66% of people say it is completely acceptable to wear shorts in the office. Jeff, when it's a baking hot day in London, do you get the legs out?
Yeah, it's completely acceptable. Why would it not be? Look, I guess it depends on your job, doesn't it? You know,
sure.
If you're a radio presenter, it's absolutely fine. I mean, if you're a city banker, might be a little bit different.
Yeah,
but for me, you know, and kids not being able to wear shorts at school. What sort of nonsense is that?
This was a school in Sheffield. Yeah, apparently they weren't allowed to wear shorts, and hashtag free the legs is what people were saying, and rightly so. Alan, I mean, if it's a baking hot day, there's nothing wrong with putting shorts on, is there? Come on,
let the kids get their legs out.
Yeah,
let them run around a bit.
There we go.
That's, a bit of freedom, a bit of choice, a bit of individuality.
Yeah.
We don't want everyone to conform.
When you were a manager, though, Alan, was there any sort of fashion or anything that a player or players would wear that would go on?
Literally every day was like an event. You know,
really?
What are we getting today? Because you also get your show pony footballers, who come in and like all in one kind of item. I'm allowed to mention, the makes of I'm not, but they'll come in one style every day. But when I first remember, we took a flight at Newcastle. And it was before sliders were really normal, acceptable to go. Well, they're not really acceptable to fly in my opinion. Jeff, I can see Jeff.
They're not really acceptable for
no.
What's wrong with sliders?
Especially with socks. People wear them with socks.
Yeah.
For
So
goodness
you
sake.
turn up at the airport with sliders on, and that was a bit of that didn't go down well with the group. So he got a bit of stick. But I remember I signed a player from Yeovil for West Ham, and he turned up to sign in those shoes. You know when you used to get those sandals that had like 2 toes, so you had 3 toes in one area of it and 2 the other.
Oh wow!
2 in the other. In the other toe.
Sure.
So you had like a double toe, like a frog.
Look, they only wore sandals like that in Yeovil.
Absolutely, yeah. And he turned up to sign. I literally looked at him and his agent thinking, what made you think you could come to West Ham in them?
Really?
And sign. Yeah.
So you judged him already by what he was wearing on his feet?
To be fair, I'm not going to mention his name. It didn't turn out that well either.
He was no good.
So.
Can I just say, if anybody from Yeovil's list, I'm going there on the first day of the season. Okay. Yeovil against Hartlepool, first day of the season.
And I played for Yeovil, Jeff.
Did you?
Yeah, I had a couple of years at Yeovil.
You're going to get stick, Jeff.
No, I was only joking to the good folk of Yeovil.
Any other trends? I mean,
Great
people
club.
wearing snoods. Was that something that annoyed you maybe on training? I mean,
snoods. We had this start of the snoods, and training in them. Some players, Teddy Sheringham, for example, not really having that. What's all that about, Gaffer? Get on top of that. So you get all that kind of pressure as the manager to clamp down on certain fashion items.
You wouldn't find Jeff Stelling wearing a snood in the freezing cold.
You definitely would have done at one stage,
on a very, very golf course, maybe.
And just one more quick one for you, because this is it's important content, Jeff, isn't it, that we need to bring the listeners on this Tuesday morning. Lego and Monopoly have been named the best toys ever. The experts' list of the top 100 playthings also includes Barbies, the Rubik's Cubes, Subutio, and Space Hoppers. I mean, come on, Jeff. When you were younger, was there, from your childhood, or maybe even nowadays, was
Barbies?
there? Well, I mean, for certain type of people, yeah. Well, anything there, Jeff?
Well, Subutio was brilliant, and for me, the best toy was sort of Scale Extra, the motor racing.
Oh, that was the belter.
Brilliant. I absolutely loved it. But Subutio,
I was a big fan.
Anything for you?
I always wanted a chopper bike. And those who remember the chopper bike would know it was a kind of cult kind of little bike thing. But I never actually got one of them. They were quite expensive back in the day.
Yeah, there we go.
So, anyone had a chopper was high.
I mean, it's interesting when a board game's still popular, because when we were kids, we used to play board games all the time.
Well, I played Monopoly the other day, by card version. It actually weren't too bad.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anybody plays these board games anymore, do they? 2025.
Monopoly.
They're good for the family unit.
It should
bring
be
the
good.
family together.
Do you remember Risk?
No.
Risk was a fantastic game.
Risk.
There's a list of top 100. Do you want me to read the whole 100? Or do you need to go to the news at 7?
Countdown, very good, I'm told.
Yeah, well, it's better as a board game than it is as a TV show when they had a very ropey presenter indeed.
Oh, you were good, Jeff. Those are the glory days of Countdown.
No, Colin Murray and Rachel and Susie, they're good. When I was on, I was rubbish.
How long did you do it for?
3 years.
Do you enjoy it though?
Yeah, absolutely loved it, because they're fantastic people to work with. And Damien is the producer there. And I should just say, by the way, he's not very well at the moment. So, Dame, if you're listening, mate, and I know you will be, because your kids will be up and about by now, I hope you're not feeling too bad. And I know things are going to work out okay. Sam, thank you very much,
Jeff.
indeed.
Cheers, gents.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Sam.
Now, last week, Jim White and Simon Jordan had the former Palace co-owner John Textor live in the studio. This morning from 10, they'll speak to Chelsea's co-owner Todd Boehly, just days after seeing his side win the Club World Cup. Does he believe that they can now mount a serious title challenge? Find out in a talkSPORT exclusive interview at 10 this morning. Up next, we'll ask whether Arsenal will be title favourites if they secure all their attacking targets this summer.
Newcastle have stepped up their interest in Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike. Talks have centred over what could be a club record offer for the 23-year-old. Frankfurt value the player at 86 million. As talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs explains.
TK was a target back in 2023 before he even joined PSG. And the feeling from Newcastle and other suitors is throughout this window, the Ekitike asking price, €100 million, will drop as the window goes on. So Newcastle think the timing is right now. They've not agreed terms with the player. They don't yet have an agreement with Frankfurt.
But it doesn't look like Newcastle are willing to move on Alexander Usyk. Meanwhile, in London, we understand Arsenal are set to approach Palace over a deal for Abachi Eze. He has a 68 million release clause, but the Gunners are going to try and figure out whether a deal might be possible without triggering it, because it looks like a pretty pricey transfer window for them at the moment. Right, Ben?
Arsenal have got this sort of rough budget of 300 million to spend. It doesn't mean it's a war kitty. It just means that within PSR, if they were to spend 300 million, some outgoings, of course, may be necessary as well, they've got that kind of leeway.
For a full rundown of all of today's transfers, head to our live blog at talksport.com. Now, Axel Tuanzebe, the new Burnley fullback, is taking legal action against Manchester United. He was an academy product at Old Trafford before leaving in summer 2023. He claims he received negligent medical advice in a specific time period from July 2022. And it's test week for the Lions. As they prepare to take on Australia on Saturday, talkSPORT caught up with number 8, Jack Conan, who says it's a pretty special week ahead.
Yeah, unbelievably special. Nice just to have a bit of time as well and not be playing a game in a day's time and having a bit of time to recover properly and get across a lot of detail, because obviously with the short weeks, trying to fit so much in such a short amount of time. So great to get a full week of prep and great to be back in Brisbane as well. So everyone's unbelievably excited for the challenge ahead.
Don't forget, talkSPORT will have you covered with all the games of the series.
Yeah, very good morning to you. 3 minutes past 7 o'clock. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Build your own car deal online, all with a few clicks. They make buying your next car easy. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with us right through until 10 o'clock this morning. On the way for you today, the former England spin bowler Graeme Swann will react to England bowling India out to go 2-1 up in the series. A word of warning ahead of the Ashes, though. Australia bowled the West Indies out for just 27. 6 wickets for Mitchell Starc. We'll build up to the Open at Royal Portrush. It gets underway in, just 48 hours' time, with a man who burst into the limelight with an 8th place finish in 2016. Andrew Beef Johnston will be joining us. And we're also just a month out from the Premier League returning, so Alan and I will be doing some early predictions. But first, Arsenal look to have some serious firepower next season.
Into Saka, edge of the penalty area, goes past, left-footed, drives the ball into the top left-hand corner of the net with a majestic finish from a majestic player.
You know, he's exceptional. He's exceptional what he does.
Gyökeres against Henderson, and it's into the bottom corner of the net, underneath Henderson. Gyökeres scores his hat-trick.
He holds it up well, he has pace, power. I think he's quite emphatic in front of goal, and that's just what Arsenal need.
Here is Eze, edge of the area, right-footed shot, slams it in. It's terrific from Emerici Eze.
But we have to believe that if we bring something, it's going to make us better.
Madueke is brilliant in 1v1 situations.
Good young player. Winger was, because Saka was out for a bit of time last year, and that really affected him.
Now Noni Madueke takes over, beyond Justin, he's waved beyond 3 and he's curled it! Oh, what a way to seal it for Chelsea! Noni Madueke!
Mikel Arteta on the verge of spending a small fortune this summer as Arsenal prepare to seal 3 new signings, they hope, in the coming days. The Gunners have agreed fees for Victor Gyökeres, still not done, still dragging on though, Noni Madueke and Christian Mosquera. And they also have an interest in Crystal Palace's Eberechi Eze. Here's talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs with the latest.
Eberechi Eze is keen on Arsenal. They've held a lot of talks on the player side to understand terms, which are now not thought to be a problem. And for Arsenal, after Gyökeres and Noni Madueke on the right, finding a central attacking midfielder is going to be key, which is fascinating because Zubimendi is a 6. Declan Rice, as a result of Zubimendi, may get the opportunity to play in a more advanced position. You got Eze. Martin Odegaard is still at the club as well. So Arsenal are going big.
Yeah, Arsenal are going big. How difficult it is to get some of these deals over the line. I mentioned Gyökeres, who looks like he's on his way there.
Yeah.
But he's looked like he's on his way there for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you get, when you in these transfer negotiations, you get messages back like the president is really unhappy about the way it's been conducted, blah, blah, blah. And he's now putting up some barriers, and we're going to have to get through these barriers. And that's what it sounds like to me there, particularly with the Gyökeres deal. You know, the player sort of coming out on strike, not going to training, going public with it, that he wants to go, etc., etc. This is all defacing president, particularly in those kind of countries where losing face is a massive issue. So I think they will get that over the line, but you know, they're going to have to kind of make sure the president feels like he's been respected. Yeah, and I think you know what I mean by that, with maybe a few extra coins and some other issues. So that's that one. The Eze one's interesting because I think if I was Arteta, when Odegaard wasn't fit, it looked to me like they had a big hole in that squad. And they needed to get somebody, a different option for him when he's not there. And i.e., again, another sort of 60, 80 game programme, whatever it's going to be for Arsenal. I think Eze is an intelligent move. Whether they can get him out of Palace, I think his contract is pretty much got security in it. 2-3 years left on that deal. So that money will be big. I think there's others interested, but I can see why Arsenal are contemplating it.
I just wonder how they all fit together, you know. Saka, Eze, Madueke, Gyökeres, Martinelli, Nwaneri, Trossard, Gabriel Jesus, Odegaard. Well, I mean, that is a powerful attacking unit, isn't it? But presumably, presumably 2 or 3 of them would have to be shown the door.
Yeah. Oh, I would have thought so.
Yeah.
But you, of course, you know, like it's like anything. When you are trying, when he looked at that team and he knew he was short to win the league, he needs to make some moves. So he's making those moves, and therefore there'll be some damage done to the squad. And i.e. that damage, you can't move that damage out until you get the new in.
Sure.
So, you know, you can expect maybe 1 or 2 of those Arsenal players to leave before the season opens. But as I say, these boys, you know, being mentioned is one thing, getting them over the line is something very, very different.
Yeah. Right, let's get the thoughts of broadcaster, huge Arsenal fan, Harry Symeou. Morning, Harry.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Yeah, very good, mate. Are you coming out in hot sweats at the prospect of next season?
Yeah, I mean, it's looking exciting. You know, I have to say the window started a little bit underwhelmingly from an Arsenal point of view because, of course, you know, the first bits of business that Arsenal got done were bringing in players that were very clearly backup players. You know, the Kepa Arrizabalaga signing, the Christian Norgard signing, and now it looks like Arsenal are really starting to move forward with some of their primary targets in that attacking end of the pitch, and that's where Arsenal have been maybe lacking a little bit. That's where we felt that they were missing something last season. The number 9 has long been talked about as kind of the missing puzzle piece for Mikel Arteta's side. So very confident that we'll get Victor Gyökeres over the line and that it'll be a hit and a success at Arsenal Football Club. And I think someone like Eberechi Eze, who we're hearing a lot about at the moment, would just bring that little bit of extra flair to Arsenal's front line. I think they're a really functional group in terms of work rate, pressing, running, all the rest of it. But I think at times when they face the low blocks, which Arsenal often do, they just need that little bit more guile, that little bit more unpredictability. And I think with Noni Madueke coming in, who I think brings some of that, I think if you bring Eze in as well, I think Arsenal are in really great shape.
Pards, just what's your view on Gyökeres? And I saw William Gallas talking this week and said this is not a step up for Gyökeres. Going from Sporting to Arsenal is 2 or 3 steps up.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that in terms of week in, week out. The standard of the Portuguese league is strong. But when you get to the bottom half of that division, I wouldn't say they're gimmies, but it's not at the level the Premier League's at. Gyökeres, I really liked him at Coventry. I was surprised he actually wasn't picked up by the Premier League before he went to Sporting Lisbon, but he is a great player, he has power, he ran the channels. I think it'd be a brilliant signing for Arsenal, I really do. But Eze, it would be interesting because Eze plays off the left as well, and that left-hand side of the pitch with Martinelli currently holding that down as probably the number one choice. He would put that under massive threat. And if Madueke comes in as well, then of course he will offer a threat down that side. So that he's trying to strengthen where he's been weak. There's no doubt about that. But without any kind of the shadow of a doubt, Gyökeres is the one. Get him over the line, and everything else is sort of candy.
I mean, Harry, as far as Arsenal fans are concerned, then, if they get all these, fantastic signings on paper in the Zubimendis and the Norgards, the Gyökeres and maybe Eze as well, how much pressure does that put the manager under? How patient will Arsenal fans be with Arteta?
Well, you wouldn't be able to sit back and complain, would you, about Arsenal being proactive in the transfer market if they were to make that volume of signings and some really, really good signings as well. Listen, I think there's pressure on Mikel Arteta going into next season regardless. I think this is a project that's been built for Arsenal to hopefully go on and win one of the big ones. They've fallen short over the last few years, gone close in the Premier League at times, went to the Champions League semi-final, but there is a little bit of frustration. I think people acknowledge that he's done a great job and taken Arsenal forward and put them back at the top table in terms of competing, but people want to see Arsenal get over the line, and so regardless, I think, of who Mikel brings in, he's going to be under pressure next season to deliver some silverware, because that's what this is all being built for. There's been a lot of money spent over the last 5 or so seasons, and you want to see that culminate into something. And as much as people talk about it being about just winning a piece of silverware, I don't think a League Cup or an FA Cup, with all due respect to those trophies, is going to be enough. I think Arsenal fans are hoping for one of the big ones, and Mikel Arteta's under pressure as a result.
Harry, we talk about all the attacking riches that Arsenal look like they're going to have. I was really interested in Christian Mosquera coming in because he was terrific for Valencia last season. I think he played virtually every La Liga game. He played 37 out of 38. So with Saliba and Gabriel, and Mosquera looking really solid defensively as well.
If you're going to win the league, the centre-back position is massive, and they didn't have cover there. So Mosquera, for me, is a great, great signing. I think he might turn out to be one of the best signings of the summer, actually. I'll talk about him a bit later as a player. The one thing that, just going back to what Harry was saying about pressure on Arteta, the one thing I would say about Arsenal, what I've noticed, particularly over the last 5 years, is the social media side of Arsenal is probably more pressure from that area of the media than any other football club. They're so kind of on top of Arsenal, everything they do. So I think that Arteta will come under massive pressure this year if they're not really and truly functioning at all levels, i.e. all the cups and the league. Yeah.
Harry, title winners this year?
I hope so, Jeff. I hope so. I feel like Arsenal have got a chance, and if they get these bits of business over the line, then they'll have as good a chance as anybody. Hopefully, they've learned some lessons over the last few years, and they can take that next step. And just very quickly on Alan's point about the social media thing, I completely agree, by the way. The issue with that is that sometimes it can lead you into thinking that the majority of Arsenal fans are angry, frustrated, and actually the majority acknowledge that Mikel's done a really good job and Arsenal are in a really good place as a result of that. So I agree with you. There's a lot of noise on the Arsenal social media space, but I don't think that always represents the majority. Sometimes it's a loud minority, unfortunately.
Just a month to go to the start of the season. Harry, enjoy it.
Thank you guys.
Good luck, Harry.
Cheers, Harry. Broadcaster and Arsenal fan, Harry Simeo there. When you're at a club, I mean, are you aware of all the noise that's going on in social media?
Yeah, you have to be. I mean, obviously you don't read it all, and you don't try to kind of absorb it as an individual, but it'll reach you through different levels. Like a player might say, "Oh, did you see that was put out, Gaffer, about me?" You know, and there's no truth in that, or something like that, or your secretary might come to you and say, "Oh, you know, did you see this yesterday?" So it kind of reaches you without actually you looking for it. So it has an impact on you. And particular, I'll talk about Newcastle because there was a lot of pressure there when we wasn't doing so well. When that starts coming down on you, the media, talkSPORT, Sky, and social media all kind of coming in to you from different angles, through your family, through your friends, through the players themselves, through their agents. You know, it becomes quite stressful.
I'm sure we at talkSPORT we're very gentle with your pods. Very gentle.
Oh, it's very gentle.
Very understanding.
Yeah. That's why I work here. It's so wonderful to me.
Okay. Tonight at 7 o'clock, Dr. Crook's surgery is open for business as our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, takes your calls alongside his trainee doctor, Ollie Klink. If you want to know what's going on with your club's transfers, who's in and who's out, or why you're not doing any business, you can call our man in the know, 03717 22 So join Alex Crook and Ollie Klink on the Transfer Insiders for their transfer window clinic tonight from 7. So a team with a schoolboy, a Chelsea reject at centre forward, an old pro playing in Saudi at centre half, a left back who starts barely 50% of Chelsea's games and who lost the best player in the tournament at half time, were still too good for England. Forget the Sir, it's still Gareth. Stand down the statue sculptor. Scratch off the bank holiday, and don't you dare utter the dreaded words, it's coming home, for another 2 years at least. Spain were as tasty as tapas, England as predictable as a cheese sandwich. Spain got us by the Balearics and squeezed, and the dream of Euro 2024 ended in tears. Well, I don't remember any of that.
Dude, I thought that was AI for a minute. I thought that was some, sitting next to you and you're not moving your mouth there.
Yeah, no. Apparently that was my rant after England lost the Euros final to Spain 366 days ago is now. And that, Alan, you and I, we hosted the breakfast show the following morning, a year to the day. So incredible. I mean, you wonder if England are in a better place now than they were then. It's impossible to tell at the moment, isn't it?
I said I don't see us having any chance of winning it next year unless we get 3 or 4 players really kind of blossom this season. Palmer being one of them. If he can kind of continue that form he showed on Sunday throughout the season and take him in. I mean, can you imagine 12 months of football he's got to play before he gets to a World Cup final? So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be exhausted. Year in, year out, we go into these tournaments with phenomenal expectations. And we came close in the Euros, but I mean, let's be brutally honest. We were pretty awful during the course of the tournament. Got a very fortuitous run through. And Spain, they were worthy winners. In the end, much better than us.
Yeah, and actually flowed all the way through. I was at the first game, and they were terrific in that. As you say, we just couldn't get it together for whatever reason. And the spirit of the group didn't look quite right. Henderson, not being there was a bit of a factor, hence why he's been brought back. There was a lot of things going on in that tournament that probably, resulted in those performances, not least of all. Taking on board, which was surprising for me, the pressure of the media. It seemed to affect, particularly Jude Bellingham, didn't it?
Yeah.
They seemed to be bothered by it all, and usually, England parties, after a while they get over it. They're like, okay, let's just play. But that never really happened. We always sort of carried the pressure of it.
Yeah, and that was a bit surprising because Gareth, over his years, one of the things that he certainly did was he improved the relationship between the England squad and the media, no question at all. But you're right. I mean, there was a lot of criticism of some of the performances, pretty justifiable criticism, in my view, and one or two of them took it to heart, which I also get,
Yeah, no, I just think the whole group took it too personally, and in those tournament kind of pressure, when you're all together, it can build, and start becoming a bigger problem than it actually was.
Yeah. Right, let's change tack, shall we? It's time to get an update on the Lions in partnership with Tenor Men.
Qatar Airways Lions Tour Roundup on talkSPORT with coverage sponsored by Tenor Men. With Tenor Men's unbeatable product lineup, you get the protection you need for the lifestyle you lead. Find out more at tenormen.co.uk.
First test between the Lions and Australia takes place this weekend. It is live on talkSPORT, of course. Let's get the latest news. We say a very good morning to talkSPORT rugby reporter Alfie Reynolds. Morning, Alfie.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Alan. How you doing, boys?
Yeah, really good, mate. Well, so, we're getting close. What is the mood like in the Lions camp?
Yeah, it's building here. I think there's a lot of relief in the Lions camp, actually. They've, over the last 2 weeks, travelled to 5 different cities, played 5 different games. They'd had no time to train. That's one of the features of the first few weeks, lads, is when you'd speak to the Lions, they were just like, we have no time to prepare. They literally didn't have any training time. They'd play a game, they'd travel the next day, they'd name the team for the next game play. So I think to be in Brisbane for a week, to build up to the first test, just to have their feet on the ground and settle in for a little bit longer is a really positive thing for this group building into the first test. And it's only going to get bigger here in Brisbane. Over the next few days, we're going to be seeing more and more Lions fans touch down. It's exciting. It's the business end of the tour. It's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much looking forward to, like any Lions tour. Is there any danger of complacency, because we hear a lot of talk, about the potential of a whitewash for the Lions.
Yeah, totally. I think, look, the Lions are understandably favourites. I don't think in the professional era they've ever come on a tour and been facing opposition that are as low ranked as Australia currently are. You look at previous tours and they've played the All Blacks when they're the world champions, or South Africa when they're the world champions 4 years ago. This Australia team isn't that. And there is a sense that the Lions should win and should win easily. But it's really hard to predict here because the Lions haven't exactly been pushed in their tour games out here. The standard of the matches hasn't been too high. The Super Rugby teams from Australia haven't had all of their wallabies. So we don't exactly know how good the Lions are at the moment. Now, they might be brilliant. They could win the series 3-0, but I absolutely agree. I think there's a real chance that this is far more competitive than people expect. And actually, do you know what, Jeff? I think it needs to be. I think if we get a one-sided test series that the Lions win easily, that'll be a really bad thing for this tour. We need a competitive series, and I just hope that the Wallabies are using all that motivation, putting all those kind of articles and predictions up on the dressing room wall. And let's see, first test in Brisbane on Saturday. If Australia were to win that, then all of a sudden, all bets are off and the series is on.
Yeah, one thing I can guarantee, Alfie, after managing, I don't know, about 10 to 20 Australian footballers, is don't worry about motivation. They don't need to put things up in the dressing room. They'll be ready to rumble.
Yeah, totally.
I think the only, when I love the Lions and, I've watched the warm-up games, etc. I just think for Farrell, it's a tough choice, isn't it? Where he's going to, lay his hat. The captain is obviously, he looks like he's leading in a brilliant way, and I love the look of him and everything about him. But, do you think in terms of selection, is there massive problems, or do you think that the problems are that he's, just choice? Who's he going to pick for? It's going to be pretty similar.
Yeah, well, if you speak to the coaches, then it's been incredibly difficult selecting the team, and that's exactly what they want, which I can imagine is what you say as a coach, but you can understand it. They've got the best players from Britain and Ireland here. It's always going to be so competitive. So the team will be named on Thursday, so that's when we're actually going to get it officially announced. There's certain players that are locked in. You mentioned there, Maro Itoje, the captain, he's obviously going to start. I think Dan Sheehan will definitely start at hooker. I think Jamison Gibson-Park and Finn Russell will be the 9 and 10, but there are other areas in the team where, boy, is it competitive. The 7 shirt in particular, you've got Jack Morgan, Josh van der Fleer, Tom Curry, Henry Pollock, Ben Earl, so many quality options. There are going to be some world-class operators that miss out in that area. So, yeah, selection's going to be really, really interesting. I think back row in particular, the 7 jersey, who they go with at open side, I don't think the Lions have ever had it this competitive in that position. And I've even heard Sam Warburton, obviously legendary Lion himself, a captain on multiple tours, a winning Lions captain, a brilliant 7 himself. He said previously he doesn't remember in Britain and Ireland the competition for that particular jersey being so fierce. So that's certainly one to keep an eye on. But yeah, team news comes out on Thursday.
Yeah, the warm-up game's over. The phony war is over, if you like, Alfie. Ready for the real thing. Thanks very much, mate. Enjoy it.
Cheers, boys. Speak to you soon.
You can't help but enjoy it. I'm just worried.
I love the Lions.
Yeah, I just worry about a bit of overconfidence. We all know the Wallabies have had a bad time. And I look back to the Autumn Internationals, and they just got shaded by Ireland. But only, I think it was 22-19, something like that. So it wouldn't surprise me one jot if they rose to the occasion. It really wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, with the Lions, bringing it all together is very difficult, isn't it? Can you imagine it, if you just transfer that to football, which is easier for me to get, I'm going to get all the choice of Irish players, Scottish players, English players, and you've got to bring it all together and produce an 11 that's going to fit. And the thing with the Aussies is, of course, they've played together, they know each other, there's a bit more familiarity about their team. But the one thing that we are not going to outdo them is the physicality. They'll be exactly the same. It's just technically whether those great players that we have and the choice that we have overcome them with just too much technical ability, and I hope that's the case.
The Lions take on the Wallabies, the opening test of the series. It's this Saturday. It's live and exclusive right here on talkSPORT from Brisbane. Coverage starts from 10. Kickoff is at 11, and that was talkSPORT's rugby reporter Alfie Reynolds, and that was thanks to Tenor Men.
Qatar Airways Lions Tour Roundup on talkSPORT with coverage sponsored by Tenor Men. With Tenor Men's unbeatable product lineup, you get the protection you need for the lifestyle you lead. Find out more at tenormen.co.uk.
Newcastle have stepped up their interest in Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike. Talks have centred over what could be a club record offer for the 23-year-old. Frankfurt value the player at 86 million. As talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs explains.
TK was a target back in 2023 before he even joined PSG. And the feeling from Newcastle and other suitors is throughout this window, the Ekitike asking price, €100 million, will drop as the window goes on. So Newcastle think the timing is right now. They've not agreed terms with the player. They don't yet have an agreement with Frankfurt.
For a full rundown of all of today's transfers, head to our live blog at talksport.com. Now, Axel Tuanzebe, the new Burnley fullback, is taking legal action against Manchester United. He was an academy product at Old Trafford before leaving in summer 2023. He claims he received negligent medical advice in a specific time period from July 2022. And it's test week for the Lions. As they prepare to take on Australia on Saturday, talkSPORT caught up with number 8 Jack Conan, who says it's a pretty special week ahead.
Nice just to have a bit of time as well and not be playing a game in a day's time and have a bit of time to recover properly and get across a lot of detail, because obviously with the short weeks, trying to fit so much in such a short amount of time. So great to get a full week of prep.
Don't forget, talkSPORT will have you covered with all the games of the series.
And here we do go at 7:34 on Tuesday the 15th of July. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Build your own car deal online, or with a few clicks they make buying your next car easy. I'm Jeff Stelling. Alan Pardew. Pards is with us right through until 10 o'clock. And he'll be particularly interested in the next story because, as we know, Palace have been expelled from the Europa League. They'll play in the Conference League next season. It's due to the multi-club ownership rules, with French club Lyon involved in the Europa League as well. Have a listen to what Simon Jordan said on the matter yesterday. He believes that Palace have only themselves to blame for being in this situation.
Got a rule that exists since 2010, which was reinforced and the parameters established very clearly in 2017 over the RB situation. I would have assumed that Parish and his cohorts would have been across the position clearly and understood their obligations. And to suggest that they don't, and whether people think it's because I've got an agenda against Parish, got nothing to do with that. Ironically, this is now a victimless crime, because Palace, the shareholder in question, has sold his shares. The teams that, whether if they play in a competition, will not have the challenges they've got there. But when you listen to Parish's interview, I mean, one of the questions that was asked of him by the Sky guy was, about decisive influence. The answer is categorically, unequivocally, no. And then to suggest that you don't have the information because it goes into info at well, that's where all the Premier League communication goes. That's where the information goes, full stop. And then to talk about you're not a multi-club ownership, to keep on reinforcing that point. Well, the panel haven't accepted that. You haven't given them a credible enough position to accept it. So you've got to stop trotting that out. And you now got to look at the reality of what your options are. It is clearly, undeniably, whether people think there's an agenda behind this, the executive control of this football club has been well documented as being Steve Parish. He's the executive chairman. This is his responsibility.
So, Alan, who's right here? Is it Simon Jordan or is it Steve Parish when he calls this a travesty of justice?
Well, I mean, obviously, some of those rulings and some of those statutory requirements, Simon is very well versed on. So I'm not going to challenge him on those. But I think it's just been harsh on Palace in terms of Textor, one of the owners, having this multi-club ownership kind of scheme, because they're not run like that. It's not like Palace share information with Lyon or players are transferred between each other. It's very much kind of like one of the owners owns another football club. But with the deadline being, what was it, March the 1st, that deadline, obviously it was down to Textor to either put it in a trust or to sell it, and he couldn't sell it in time. So they were left with this conundrum. I don't think there was any way out of it, and Palace have suffered for that. Going into the conference now, though, I think they should just focus on that. It's done. Let's move on. Let's get, and it's a competition that's winnable for any Premier League team. I would suspect,
which gets them into the Europa League the season after.
You've got like another Premier League team in it, and that is your biggest rivals. I've actually played in that conference competition with a team from Bulgaria. We were I would say 4 levels below a Premier League team. So they're the type of competition that you're going to have. Okay, when you get nearer to the quarterfinal, semi-final, it heats up a little bit, but not to the level of the Europa League or the Champions League. Nowhere near.
Yeah, I mean, look, Simon will know the rule book inside out, and I'm not going to take him on in that, but I have to say, I do feel desperately sorry for Crystal Palace, who earned their place in the Europa League and have been denied it by the rule book.
Yeah, and actually, believe it or not, Jeff, when in 1990 when we got to the cup final, we actually qualified for Europe that particular year as well, and we wasn't allowed in entry then because I think it was the Hazel disaster situation. Liverpool were allowed back into the Champions League, but all the other teams weren't allowed back in Europe, so we lost out then as well. So it's almost like history, unfortunately, repeating itself. Yeah. So there you go.
Palace fans, go and enjoy it. Go and win the Conference League. Be in the Europa League.
Nothing. Listen,
season.
I mean, obviously Steve's really upset, and the club are really upset, and the players will be as well in this particular period. But they'll get over it. But I'll tell you one thing who ain't upset is that much is the fans, because they just can't believe they got the cup over the line.
No,
we're still kind of celebrating.
They're still heading for European venues.
Absolutely, good for them.
Simon's back today, of course, from 10 alongside Jim White. We'll be speaking to Chelsea co-owner Todd Boehly in a tell-all interview about Chelsea and the project they're building at Stamford Bridge. So don't miss that. White and Jordan today from 10. Let's chat Tottenham, shall we? New signing Mohamed Kudus is winning the hearts of Spurs fans, and he's yet to even step on the pitch.
I'm going to listen to your heart, okay? you find Spurs doing?
Yeah, I find it. I can hear the cockerel now very clear.
A few days ago, you could hear the hammers, couldn't he, inside that heart? You know,
you don't want to start wandering around East London looking for clothes or anything at the moment.
13th of September, Pards. West Ham against Spurs. I bet he'll get a hot reception.
He'll
back
get
there.
reminded then. You know exactly what he's been. You know, when you move football clubs, it's very, very important to show a bit of respect. Do you know what I mean? And that is disrespectful what he's done there. And I don't think he actually meant it. I think it was just a jokey throwaway line. Unfortunately for him, it's going to turn out more than that.
It is indeed. I'm happy to say joining us now, good friend of yours, Spurs fan, host of the
Super
Final
Madge.
Word on talkSPORT. It's Pards' good mate, Majestic. Morning, Madge.
Morning, chaps. How'd you get Pards out this early?
He was here before me this morning.
I can believe that. He's the consummate professional as a Pards.
Yeah, but talk about embarrassing the presenter, you know, when the guest turns up before you. Anyway, look, you've got Mohamed Kudus over the line. Morgan Gibbs-White, still a possibility. You happy with the business at Spurs so far?
Oh, absolutely, and it almost felt too good to be true when I heard the two of them going in sort of the space of 24 hours. And of course, we've seen the Morgan Gibbs-White transfer have the little delay at the moment, hoping that does get over the line. But yeah, it just seems like me and Pards talked about it at the start of the season last year, didn't we, Pards, on our show about that. The movement in the transfer window for Ange last season did not seem like it was a club trying to look for top 4, even top 6 with some of the signings that we made. These are two Premier League proven players, and you know, as you mentioned there with the little jest about Spurs and his heart, it's going to be breaking West Ham's fans' hearts, unfortunately, because he was a big player for them. Although he did down tools last season, we have seen a very good Mohamed Kudus at times. So yeah, if we can get the Morgan Gibbs-White transfer done, I think there's one little piece of the puzzle that I'd like to improve on as well, which is in sort of that sort of central defensive midfield area we talked about, Pards.
Yeah,
I think we're a little weak in that area, aren't we?
Yeah, and you know, as you say, Madge, you know, it was so underwhelming last year's transfers into Spurs. Young players, you know, hope rather than kind of assurance. This is definitely a better feel in terms of what they're doing. Kudus was a terrific player for a period for West Ham, and you'll be looking that he replicates that. And as we said, the one problem that Spurs had, particularly at home, was a player to go down the outside and cause problems with pace, you know, and take you up the pitch, and he'll definitely add to that. I mean, you know, where do you think, Madge, you know, your kind of ambition is this year for Spurs? I mean, I know you've got a cockerel in your heart as well. I can see it even on you wearing it this morning. Put your shirt on. Where are you kind of going next year?
You know what? You look at the work that, you know, Newcastle are doing in the transfer window. We've seen, of course, from the top with Liverpool, they started things early. You know, the teams around us are improving, and we've seen how incredible Chelsea were, of course, in that cup final. It's going to be the most interesting and most difficult Premier League season, I think, next year. So it's so hard even to look at even the top 6. That's where Spurs need to be. Whether or not we get there is another situation. Of course, Thomas Frank's first year. I'm just really excited about this project, Thomas Frank, and what it could mean for the next few years.
Project Thomas Frank. It's all
yeah. I hear you, but the difference I feel now is taking the hoodoo of we don't win anything off of our back, bringing in a manager like Thomas Frank who adapts from game to game. I've mentioned him a couple of times, and I think he's going to be absolutely instrumental. Will be his number 2, Justin Cochran, with some of those young lads that we've got at the club. I think he's going to really connect with them and be able to develop them. You know, he's been you know, touted as the person behind Brian Mbeumo's sort of improvements. Is like he's given a lot of praise towards people like Justin. So it's going to be interesting to see those players that we've got there, because there are some young quality players in our squad like Destiny.
There's no doubt that you've got some young, you know, quality coming through. Where did you sit with I mean, it's interesting because I think when last Sunday when we was doing the show, we was talking about Eze going to Spurs, and now we wake up this morning that Eze's going to Arsenal. You know, that big North London pull. I mean, that will be a blow if he goes to Arsenal. Particularly in your mind, you're a big fan, aren't you?
Yeah, big fan of Eze, of course. But at the end of the day, there must be a reason, whether it's wages or whatever else, that we've not gone finally in for him. But for me, the signings, if we can get Morgan Gibbs-White over the line and we get Kudus, I think for me, I can take that blow of Eze going to Arsenal. I personally feel with Arsenal, like Martinelli, when he first came through at Arsenal, he was fantastic. And I do feel like the shackles have almost been put on him a little bit in terms of his freedom and watching him play as a footballer. And speaking to some Arsenal fans, they've said the same thing to me as well. So I don't know whether or not Eze's the player that Arsenal necessarily need. I think if they can get... It's scary thinking again Arsenal are going in for, they've got Maeda Wakey, who I think is a really good player. Of course, he was a Spurs Academy player. But if they go and get Gyökeres, they've done some great moves in the transfer window. It's going to be so difficult just to stay even in the race, let alone be anywhere near the top four. And that's the thing. And I think this is why that Morgan Gibbs-White transfer is so essential for Spurs to get done and still go again and get another at least one or two in this transfer window.
Madge, I'm going to jump in because you two must think this is the final word or something like that. Look, I think you need a defender or two, and particularly another central defender. But that's for another time. Madge, thanks very much indeed, mate.
Cheers, guys. Enjoy.
Cheers, Madge.
I got another text here from Jill. We've read one out this morning, but I'm going to make an exception this morning. This is two. So, Jeff, this has made my day. My 3 favourite talkSPORT presenters on the same show. That's me, you, Pards, and Madge.
Yes.
Jill, you're in big trouble because I'm going to be seeing Alistair McCoist very shortly indeed. And I've got this written across my heart, word for word. I know you don't mean that. Coisty's right up there with your favourite presenters. Everybody's favourite presenters. I think Tottenham, top 10. That'll do. That's improvement. They got the Champions League as well. I think that would be a solid first season for Thomas Frank.
I think Thomas Frank, from the work he did at Brentford, the way he handles himself, for me, is a top class acquisition for them.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, and it will take him a couple of years. I think this first year they've got the trophy in the bag, which what a blessing that is. Get that off their backs. So I think he's got a free run this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We wish him well, that is for sure. Arsenal fans won't agree. Right, still to come on breakfast.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. From excavators to skips or cement mixers to pressure washers, Travis Perkins Hire has all your landscaping needs covered.
Well, what a day it was for Ben Stokes and England's cricket team yesterday against India. We'll be joined by the former England spinner Graeme Swann for more on how Bashir managed to roll that ball back onto poor old Siraj's wicket. And up next, I'll be making my predictions for next season. I've got Arsenal second, but I haven't got the winners that you'd expect.
You've gone for Liverpool?
I've gone for Liverpool, yeah. Even a blind squirrel occasionally finds a nut, as they say. Pards might have a few predictions as well. That was our look ahead with Travis Perkins.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Travis Perkins. It's easy to hire at Travis Perkins with a Travis Perkins trade account.
morning, 7:50. This is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with us this morning. And right now it is time for some predictions as we do a bit of this. Time for some predictions as we do a bit of fortune stelling. We are 1 month away from the start of the Premier League. Yeah, I know.
What they've done there.
Yeah. Well, I see what they've done as well, and I wish they hadn't. Let's get the first prediction.
1.
Okay, well, this is obviously who's going to win the title, and I've lived for quite some time on the glory of me predicting that Liverpool would win the title last season. And their fans and their players may right now feel like the last thing that matters is football. But I like the rallying cry from Arne Slot. He said, we're a football club. We have to train. We have to play, whether we like it or not. People seem to have forgotten that earlier in the season, much earlier in the close season, they signed Florian Wirtz, who I think is a special player.
Yep.
They signed Milos Kerkez, who I like a lot. They signed Jeremy Frimpong. They've got Connor Bradley, great replacement for Trent. I think we'll see more additions as well. Look, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Newcastle, all strengthened. But for me, Pards, it's Liverpool again for the title. What do you think?
Well, I don't really like to call it when, the work's not done in terms of the transfer windows. We'd like to see how strong Arsenal, recruit, whether they can get these guys over the line. Chelsea, Man City might go again, who knows. I think Man City will have a better run at it, but with you, I think Liverpool probably, with what they've got and what they've brought in, and with the unfortunate news of losing Jota, of course, is horrific. But I think that will galvanise them, to a degree that they will be the favourites for me.
Yeah. They were the best side in the league, no question, last season. And I think they are stronger this season than they were last season. So consequently, that's my reason for thinking that Liverpool will be champions once again. Okay, let's get the next one.
2.
Well, this is the bit I absolutely hate. I don't want to predict anybody to go down. And inevitably, people will talk about the 3 promoted clubs. So we'll do that first of all. Leeds need to make Elland Road a fortress. You know what? I'm worried that they've not splashed the cash, around £30 million so far. The headline from Elland Road yesterday was Dan James signing a new deal. The headlines need to be players coming in to that football club if they'd have any chance of survival. Burnley, great defensively last season. They brought in Kyle Walker and Twan Zabi. You know who's made the biggest impact of the promoted clubs so far for me is Sunderland, because they've shown their ambition. They've gone out. They spent a lot of money on people like Habib Diarra, Simon Adingra, Ronaldo. I know he came in from a free, but he's got quality from Atletico Madrid. I think of any of those 3 sides, just on the basis of where they are now, I think Sunderland have got the best chance of surviving, which I wouldn't have expected to say at the end of last season.
Yeah. Well, the problem you have, particularly when you get promoted, obviously, I've done that a couple of times. What you get is that you're last port of call, really, in terms of the transfers. So everybody else has to do their business. And he was talking about earlier when we was talking about players going into Arsenal, that some of those players will move. Well, yeah, they will come available later in the window. So teams who come promoted, they are your great catches. Can you go and get one of them? And I think that's what they're all sitting for. They're all probably getting noises that might be available. Like McAteer at the Manchester City, who might go out on loan. That would be like, if I was coming up from below, he's a player that I would want in my squad, a real tight, technical young player that we haven't got. I personally think Leeds this year are going to do it. I think they'll do the business they need to do. I think the home base, I genuinely hope that they can get it across the line and stay in the
You'd
division.
like to have seen them be more active, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
If
but
you
as I
tried
say,
them
it's
up
very
now.
hard, Jeff. It's very hard to do business when you are, particularly when you want to stay in the Premier League, because it's very difficult. What Sunderland have done of taking players from Europe and brought them in. Now, that's more difficult to stay in the Premier League, to get them up and running. What you really want to do is actually go and get some experience and some players who have been in the Premier League, so your squad can look at them during the season and go, oh yeah, he knows what we know, and they can settle the squad down a bit. So I think all those three clubs will be looking at Premier League clubs, what they're going to move on.
Do you fear at all for Brentford this season with Norgard gone and Mbeumo presumably going to be leaving? I know he says that it's not absolutely certain, and an unproven manager. Now, look, Keith Andrew might turn out to be he might turn out to be another Thomas Frank, and let's hope from Brentford's point of view he does. But do you fear for them?
Yeah, I do a little bit, because when you if they lose the two strikers, Norgard has already gone, then the pressure is going to be on. They have a tremendous record of promoting from within. Keith Andrews has now got the mantle, and obviously I wish him well. They're a great club, well-run club, but you got to say at this particular moment, if you're a Brentford fan, you are looking over your shoulder always.
You might be looking at Wolves as well, by the way, because Wolves have sold a couple of big players, and whether Vitor Pereira can have the same impact this season, I hope from Wolves' point of view that he does, because he was brilliant. Yeah, surprised a lot of people when he came in last season.
Absolutely,
breath of fresh air.
Yeah, he was, and the way he interacted with the fans, and they loved him.
Yeah.
So but I think Wolves, they're always kind of a eclectic mix of players from everywhere, and it's a hard group to bring together, and it don't always go well there. So I would fear for them too. But all the teams in that bottom 10, including Man United.
Whoa.
Yeah, well, you do. You need to have an eye on that club, because at the moment,
Well, you worry that Manchester United could get involved in the relegation battle?
I genuinely do, because you've also got 5 first team players, big fees, training on their own. That does not send the right message to the rest of the players in the training ground, because what players feel is that one day that might be me. All players feel that. So to have that currently going on in the background, the transfer business they've done okay. They brought in the top player from Wolves, a very much a maverick player, great technical ability, of course, but that wasn't the bigger issue. The big issue is keeping goals out.
Yeah.
And at the moment, they haven't changed much from that.
Well, look, the lack of activity in the transfer window's got to worry Manchester United supporters. We hear rumours every day about player A, player B, player X, player Y coming to Old Trafford, and with the exception of Cunha, nothing's happened.
Well, it all hinges on these moving these 5 players. It's almost
absolutely.
like a fire sale at the moment.
It is. Being forced to train on their own at 5 o'clock when the rest of the squad have left. Look, they're just our views, and of course, obviously, if you're a Leeds United fan, you'll hate the fact that I said, that they need to go out and spend some money.
I didn't know. I'm going for Leeds. Come on, Leeds.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're going for the populist vote of Leeds United supporters, and of course there is.
I just genuinely love them, because obviously we're the same age, roughly. The Leeds, that great Leeds club, and the great years that they had. I'd love that to come back to the Premier League.
Brilliant. I mean, Leeds against Manchester United, Leeds against Liverpool, great days, and Elland Road is fantastic. It's such a buzzing place to watch your football, and I am slightly biased, of course, towards
One Club City
as well,
which always helps.
Absolutely. Look, up next we'll ask Henry Winter whether Cole Palmer's Club World Cup performances have propelled him to a platform as one of the world's superstars. That was Fortune Stelling.
Newcastle have stepped up their interest in Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike. Talks have centred over what could be a club record offer for the 23-year-old. Frankfurt value the player at 86 million. As talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs explains.
TK was a target back in 2023 before he even joined PSG. And the feeling from Newcastle and other suitors is throughout this window, the Ekitike asking price, €100 million, will drop as the window goes on. So Newcastle think the timing is right now. They've not agreed terms with the player. They don't yet have an agreement with Frankfurt.
But it doesn't look like Newcastle are willing to move on Alexander Usyk. Meanwhile, in London, we understand Arsenal are set to approach Palace over a deal for Aberchi Eze. He has a 68 million release clause, but the Gunners are going to try and figure out whether a deal might be possible without triggering it, because it looks like a pretty pricey transfer window for them at the moment. Right, Ben?
Arsenal have got this sort of rough budget of 300 million to spend. It doesn't mean it's a war kitty. It just means that within PSR, if they were to spend 300 million, some outgoings, of course, may be necessary as well, they've got that kind of leeway.
For a full rundown of all of today's transfers, head to our live blog at talksport.com. Now, Axel Tuanzebe, the new Burnley fullback, is taking legal action against Manchester United. He was an academy product at Old Trafford before leaving in summer 2023. He claims he received negligent medical advice in a specific time period from July 2022. And it's test week for the Lions. As they prepare to take on Australia on Saturday, talkSPORT caught up with number 8, Jack Conan, who says it's a pretty special week ahead.
Yeah, unbelievably special. Nice just to have a bit of time as well and not be playing a game in a day's time and having a bit of time to recover properly and get across a lot of detail, because obviously with the short weeks, trying to fit so much in such a short amount of time. So great to get a full week of prep and great to be back in Brisbane as well. So everyone's unbelievably excited for the challenge ahead.
Don't forget, talkSPORT will have you covered with all the games of the series.
Very good morning to you. 8:05. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Build your own car deal online, or with a few clicks they make buying your next car easy. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with us right through until 10 o'clock. We were touching on sides, newly promoted sides who might be involved in a relegation battle next season. Adam's just reminded me, he said, I remember seeing Jeff at a Sunderland pre-season game in Portugal back when Roy Keane was manager. I wonder if he can remember what particularly large inflatable object the fans kept running along the touchline with. Oh, Adam, I remember it very well. And the Portuguese policewoman, who was not amused by it all, can remember it even better, I think. Quite an occasion. I slipped out as well 5 minutes before the end of this pre-season game because I was desperate to go to the loo, just desperate to go to the loo. And
where was this game?
This is in the Algarve.
Okay.
And as I was leaving, the Sunderland fans spotted me, and of course immediately start chanting, we know where you're going. It was
that one.
utterly humiliating. Anyway, thanks for reminding me of that, Adam. On the way for you this morning, former England great Graeme Swann will join us in around half an hour's time to react to yesterday's fantastic test match at Lord's. Phone lines are open as well. 03717 223344. Alan's been flying today. He's given Mohamed Kudus a warning of a bad reception at West Ham next season. He believes Man United are in a spot of bother as well. Actually, let's take a quick call on that. Dan is a Manchester United fan. Morning, Dan.
Morning.
So, Dan, is Alan right? Are Manchester United in the relegation battle next season?
I'm just wondering where he's getting the facts from with regards to United signing of Cunha and that not being the issue. He said that stopping the ball going in the net was the issue. I'm wondering where he's got those figures from. And have you looked at the figures?
Well, I have looked. I see he got 18 defeats last year.
We did, but if you look, he's saying that stopping the ball going in the net was the problem. They conceded for 54
They're just
goals
one of your
last year.
problems, actually. But yeah, go on.
It was one of. It was, but we conceded 54 goals. Aston Villa conceded 51, Newcastle 47. Actually, putting the ball in the net was the biggest issue we had, and creating chances. And we've just signed a player that's going to improve us doing that.
Yeah, but well. In fairness, Dan, look, you might have signed a player who's going to improve you doing that, but Matheus Cunha is not an out-and-out goal scorer.
Oh, he's not going to solve everything. My frustrations is when we've got people on spouting nonsense that stopping the ball going in the net was the issue, and I don't think it was. If you watch Man United week in, week out, putting the ball in the net was our biggest problem. And if we get Mbeumo as well, I think that puts us in a good place moving into the season.
Well, you definitely need to alter your offence. There's no doubt about that. But the times that you were exposed, particularly, when you was coming onto teams with a little bit of lack of pace through the central areas was a problem. But I think, listen, I've said to you, and I've said it on here, that it worries me that Man United are far away from anywhere near where they should be, and I know I don't need to tell you that.
Away. Yeah, we're miles away from where to be. Yeah.
And that's my point. It's just I feel for the manager, and he's got these 5 big hitters currently not training with a team, and I've done that job as a coach, taking that group, and it makes all the other players unsettled. Don't think, even though they're not coming across each other in the training ground at the moment, that they're not unsettled by it. It's a real worry.
Dan, thank you very much. Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Cheers, Dan.
Now, a month away from the start of the Premier League season, but for Chelsea, of course, they've only just finished last season, thanks to their Club World Cup performances. One man Chelsea will certainly be banking on next season is Cole Palmer. What a brilliant final he had. Look, let's get more on this and cross over to top writer and broadcaster Henry Winter. Morning, Henry.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Alan. I was particularly enjoying that Manchester United exchange with Alan. You guys are flying this morning.
Yeah. So who's right then, Henry? Is Pards right, or was Dan the Man United fan right?
No, I think there's right on both sides. I do think they need a centre forward. I mean, they were looking at Gyökeres, who obviously Ruben Amorim knew from Sporting Lisbon. He played really well for him there. But I think Alan's right. You look at that defence, it's not good enough. I mean, you think of the great Manchester United teams down the years, they've all been rooted on good goalkeepers, whether Schmeichel, you can go further back than that, or De Gea in more recent seasons. But I think Onana has not trained on. And I think many Manchester United fans would say that they do need a stronger goalkeeper. You look at Liverpool. Liverpool have got 2 outstanding goalkeepers, and they let another outstanding goalkeeper go in Kelleher. And I think Onana either needs to sort of improve or they need to strengthen there. So, yeah, absolutely
and
right.
Remember, he's also out for 6 weeks. I mean, I think it's an hamstring tear that he's got. So, even their first choice goalie at the moment isn't available.
I mean, one thing is for sure, we said it's a month to the start of the Premier League season. They need to find a way to bring some players in and get rid of the not-so-fab 5, who are training on their own. Look, we brought you to talk about the Club World Cup, Henry. I just want to touch on, the overall view of that Club World Cup. Enzo Maresca and Levi Cole will both say this is going to become the world's biggest club tournament in the future. What do you think?
I disagree. I think anyone who looks at the Champions League and the fact that Chelsea qualified for this tournament with what they did in their Champions League, 4 years ago in Porto, I mean, you look at the Champions League and you look at the new format, and there's a right balance of quality and quantity in the Champions League. Champions League's been absolutely outstanding. Some of those semi-final games this year were sensational. The Club World Cup, by its very nature, and Chelsea were fantastic in the throughout the knockout stages. I mean, you look at Cole Palmer. I think he was voted player of the tournament. He was absolutely outstanding. Malagusta, who made the goal for him, outstanding on the right as well. But it was very much an Infantino Trump loving. We saw that it was quite political. There were issues for fans. It's supposedly once every 4 years, but knowing Infantino, I think he will absolutely want to see a little bit more of Cole Palmer on a regular basis, because it generates so much money for FIFA. But this idea that you can take one or two teams from around the world and pit them against Europe's finest is naive. That's what they were hoping for. They weren't hoping for an all-European final, which is what they got.
I mean, obviously, some people have clearly benefited from it. Todd Boehly, Enzo Maresca, Robert Sanchez, who having been roundly criticised by everybody, every Chelsea fan, people saying how good he was, and Cole Palmer. Has Cole Palmer firmly established himself on the world stage for you?
Definitely. I don't think that was really a doubt, because we know Cole Palmer, particularly in the big games, he delivers in the big games because of his temperament, because of his technique. He's a fabulous player. And I'm sure, and you guys have been debating it, how England, Thomas Tuchel, who was out there, then fits this outstanding player who is probably, Alan with his technical eye would know better than me, but he looks like he is best playing just off the right with a powerful right back going on the outside of him, whether Malagusta, whether Reece James, although Maresca prefers him in midfield, whether it's then Trent Alexander with England. But then you have this issue of, with England, assuming Tuchel plays a back four, then who is going to be the front six? Four of them are pretty well established. Saka has to play on the right because of his performances. Bellingham is obviously going to play as a 10 off Kane, and then you've got Rice. In certain games, he may want to put another number 6 in there, but ultimately there are two vacancies. On the left, whether it's Rashford, who Tuchel likes, whether it's Madueke, whether it's Eze, who's probably better as a left-sided 10. Rodgers is better as an attacking 10 than more right-sided. But so how do you fit this fabulous talent, Cole Palmer, in? First, it's a great problem, because England down the years have had issues in that sort of almost like playmaking position. Can you play Bellingham and Palmer together? And that's an issue that Tuchel will have to solve.
Yeah, I personally think you definitely can. And the one thing about Palmer, which, on a technical level, is such a great asset to have, is he has this ability to slow the game down. Even the goals that he got, the second goal he got, where he does the dummy to because on the overlap and he comes inside, just that moment where he bought himself the time is just such an asset at world level, and that's what sets him apart. But we've had players like this before, Henry, and do you remember Latiz, when Latiz was a very similar kind of asset that we had, and he hardly got a game for England, did he? So I understand your concerns.
I mean, England have always had a slight suspicion of fear of flair, of that sort of player. Look at Glenn Hoddle. Glenn Hoddle would have had 100 caps and probably a couple of trophies at another country. There was always that. It was partly the long ball ethos of England at the time. Letizier was a magnificent player and rightly celebrated, but that England had some exceptional attacking players at that time, certainly strikers, and there were question marks about his work rate and tracking back, which you need. But I agree with you totally. With Cole Palmer, that second goal, the way he's feint, and he beat one of the the best midfielders this season in Vitinha, and then Beraldo, the centre half as well, and then he placed it. I mean, you don't want to make great comparisons but there were elements of the way that Jimmy Greaves placed the ball in the net and Cole Palmer, not comparing the two, different players, different positions, different eras, but there is an element of that composure and that control of time, as you say.
Henry, thanks very much indeed.
Pleasure.
Cheers, Henry.
Broadcaster and top rider Henry Winter. Scott says people need to calm down about Cole Palmer. His stats for Chelsea last season were worse than the season before. He does great things every now and then, but goes missing at times, needs to be more consistent. And Mark from Manchester, he's the definition of an optimistic mank. He said, Jeff, love it how everyone is writing off United already. If United sign Mbeumo to add to Cunha, that's easily another 20 to 25 25 goals to our team. No European football is a blessing in disguise. More recovery and training time between games. Correct, I think. Top 4 under trophy all day long. Thanks, Mark. I absolutely love that sort of optimism.
Yeah, great.
Now, a few sporting events this summer have momentarily been disrupted by unlikely things. UFOs? Really? Ladybirds? Really? More on that next. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Get the UK's best used car deals guaranteed. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with me. In the papers this morning, a headline, Spoil Sport. After a swarm of ladybirds invaded Lords on Friday, the maddest moments to halt sporting events have been revealed. Here's a few of them.
No, go on.
Darts World Championship last year. Play was halted so that Nathan Aspinall could watch a man dressed as a hot dog down a pint.
Right.
That's not unusual at the World Darts Championship, I'm going to be brutally honest. In 2017, a motorist ended up in the middle of a cricket pitch in India, claiming he was lost. Well, definitely was. In 2022, a pigeon stopped play at the Snooker World Championship.
No, I remember that. They ended on the table, didn't it?
Yeah. And in 1954, a football match in Italy was suspended because the referee thought he'd spotted a UFO.
That sounds suspicious.
It does. It did. Have you ever been involved in a game that had been stopped for anything out of the ordinary?
That sounds like one of those betting sort of situations there.
1954. I'm not sure about betting on football in 1954.
Oh, no, maybe not. No.
Yeah, maybe not. Anyway, look, if you've seen any mad moments in sport, we'd love to hear from you. You've been involved in a game that was interrupted for something that was completely bonkers. 03717 223344 is the number. Let's hear your stories. Ash, the Newcastle fan, well done to Alan Pardew for finally calling it as it is. Other pundits keep trying to say Manchester United are back. In reality, they're currently in a relegation scrap. Manchester United will finish no higher than 10th at best and relegated at worst. That's from Ash, who is a Newcastle United fan. Time now to catch up on the latest odds with Coral and Simon Clare.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for it. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Morning to you, Simon.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Alan. Funny enough, actually, when you're talking about reasons for sports events being interrupted, it still made me laugh. Actually, this FIFA Club World Cup had plenty of them. I think Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy were on, and Jamie O'Hara was going, there was a tornado which delayed a match in America. So, I mean, there was some extreme weather over in America. Don't think that's going to be repeated next year in the World Cup. I hope not.
Yeah. Now, well, let's look. In 1994, they got through it okay without interruptions for the weather.
Yeah.
Look, Alan's been causing a bit of a storm here in the studio himself this morning by saying that Manchester United could be involved in a relegation scrap. So, Simon, you're the man in the know. What sort of price for Manchester United to be relegated?
Oh, I've enjoyed it very much. Stirring the pot. Well done, Al. That's what you want on a Tuesday morning. I mean, look, here's the odds. I mean, for a top 10 finish, which they failed miserably to achieve last year, we reckon they're 1-4. So we're being optimistic betting-wise. We think it's going to be a better season for United fans. Are we right? It's then 6-5 for a top 6 finish. That feels short, I'm going to be honest. I think you'd agree, Al. And 9-2 for a top 4 finish in Champions League football and relegation. 20-1, Al. Surely you can't be serious. But I mean, is a top 10 finish 1-4?
Well, I just think that if I was the manager of Man United, I would be very nervous going into this year at the moment with what I've got, and they do need to do some work. They have got some great young players, Ahmed in particular, and Manu. So I'd be leaning on them massively.
Yeah, and 6-5 for a top 6 finish looks very short. I mean, effectively, you're saying, a shade of odds on not to be a top 6 finish. And we know how strong the league is now with the likes of Newcastle, Villa, even sides like Brighton and Bournemouth last season. So, listen, it's all building up to be, and Chelsea to win in the FIFA Club World Cup makes it even more interesting as we go into this new season.
Open gets underway on Thursday. I mean, look, a lot of home interest. Obviously, Rory's going to be high in the betting. Shane Lowry's a previous winner. I've got a sneaking fancy for Tyrrell Hatton. Where do they sort of figure in the market?
Yeah, look, I mean, Rory, in some ways, I think the record of the Scottish Open winner in the Open is bad. So maybe Rory not winning the Scottish Open is a good thing. But he to see that return to form was massive, because he had been slightly in the doldrums since the Masters win. So we still make Scotty Scheffler the favourite at 9-2. Rory McIlroy 6-1. He was out practicing yesterday morning first thing after a few hours sleep. John Rahm, he's always there. He's 11-1. 18-1 Bryson DeChambeau. Your man Tyrrell Hatton 22-1. He's a real gritty fighter with lots of talent. He should go well. Tommy Fleetwood 20-1. All building up. It'll be an early start on Thursday, so more chat tomorrow as well, I'm sure, on the slot. But this is one of the big sports events. We've just had Wimbledon. It's the Open. It's going to be the weather looks set fair, so I imagine that could be make for some fantastic golf. But I just can't wait. 4 days of sitting in front of the TV. What could be better?
Pards, who do you fancy?
Yeah, Scheffler, I know at the Scottish Open, he's kind of sort of struggling a little bit, particularly putting, but you still can't look beyond him. When these big majors come around, he comes alive. Yeah.
One test match finished, and what a test match it was. We're off to Manchester for the 4th test, to Old Trafford. Bumble saying, looks like another 5-day pitch. What sort of betting for that?
It's been fantastic, hasn't it? I was hunting around yesterday morning up at thinking, could I find a ticket to get up there? And I didn't. John Hill, I know, was on the slot. He went. I've just been texting him. I said, mate, what was it like? And he said the atmosphere was unbelievable. Literally almost every ball, there was tension in the air. And I mean, can you believe it was 6 years to the day since the World Cup final of 2019? I mean, what are the odds of that, Jeff? You know, Al. But I thought it was brilliant. And the series is set for, I mean, the next test match, we've got 8 days. Will Geoffrey Archer play again? He'll have a little bit of a break. Evens England, 7-4 India, 4-1 the draw. So, slightly favouring England. And the outcome of the test series is a favourite is 3-2 England at 11-8. So we think it's going to be tight to the end, and it's exactly what you want in a summer without a major football tournament. With all due respect to the FIFA Club World Cup, is to have a great test series. Are you a cricket fan, Al? Were you gripped to the TV yesterday?
Yeah, I've been. Obviously being a professional footballer, you kind of mix cross with the cricketers. Alex Stewart, a big pal of mine, and. Surrey, obviously, I'm doing great. So, yeah, I like the cricket. The testing in particular, that's really where I focus. And these two tests have been brilliant.
Simon, just finally, quick word on the Lions. Hot favourites for the first test?
They are. They're 100-30 on, 5-2 Australia. I think these sort of warm-up matches, they certainly were at their best in their last one, but enough sort of I suppose challenges to suggest it could be close. 9 points is the handicap spread Saturday morning, 10-11 with the 9-point spread, the Lions. So I think it should be close, exciting, but we certainly make the Lions favourites.
Simon, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, guys. Good to chat.
And that was a look at the latest odds, all thanks to Coral 18+, gambleaware.org.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for it. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Talking about sporting events being disrupted by unusual things, and Andy reminds us of the parachutist that got caught in the stand at Villa Park. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Jessin Barnsley says cricket once got halted in Galle in Sri Lanka against England in 2018 as a giant water monitor strolled across the pitch, as in the animal, not a man carrying water. And Stuart says the 2016 European final was delayed for a locust invasion. Of course, the Club World Cup final was delayed for Robbie Williams, wasn't it? So there we go. Yeah. Up next, you'll learn a bit more about what to expect from Todd Boehly's interview with Jim White.
Newcastle have stepped up their interest in Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike. Talks have centred over what could be a club record offer for the 23-year-old. Frankfurt value the player at 86 million. As talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs explains.
TK was a target back in 2023 before he even joined PSG. And the feeling from Newcastle and other suitors is throughout this window, the Ekitike asking price, €100 million, will drop as the window goes on. So Newcastle think the timing is right now. They've not agreed terms with the player. They don't yet have an agreement with Frankfurt.
For a full rundown of all of today's transfers, head to our live blog at talksport.com. Now, Axel Tuanzebe, the new Burnley fullback, is taking legal action against Manchester United. He was an academy product at Old Trafford before leaving in summer 2023. He claims he received negligent medical advice in a specific time period from July 2022. And it's test week for the Lions. As they prepare to take on Australia on Saturday, talkSPORT caught up with number 8, Jack Conan, who says it's a pretty special week ahead.
Nice just to have a bit of time as well and not be playing a game in a day's time and having a bit of time to recover properly and get across a lot of detail, because obviously with the short weeks, trying to fit so much in such a short amount of time. So great to get a full week of prep.
Don't forget, talkSPORT will have you covered with all the games of the series.
Where it is 8:33, this is talkSPORT Breakfast with the Arnold Clark app. Buy a car, opt into the Arnold Clark Rewards to enjoy access to great giveaways and everyday perks. I'm Jeff Stelling. Alan Pardew is with us through until 10 o'clock. We'll be speaking to Graeme Swann in just a moment. But first, Jim's in the studio to tell us more about what's coming up at 10. Morning, Jim.
Jeff, good morning to you. Alan, good morning. I woke up about 6:30 and listened to your dulcet tones. Was enjoying it. I was thinking, I'm going to meet these two this morning, have a chat with them. And we're doing exactly that. Jeff, yesterday when we came off air, got in touch with Todd Boehly over in New York. It was a bit early for Todd, as you might imagine, Alan, after what had happened the night before. Call me back in 2 or 3 hours. I did, and the man was true to his word. And we have a chat this morning with Todd Boehly, which you'll hear in the course of the morning on the show with Simon. If you remember rightly, Alan, there was a spell that Todd and co-owner Behdad Iqbali were a bit under pressure. Yes. The Chelsea fans, some of the Chelsea hardcore were letting them know that. But Boehly points out, and I suppose you could say, yeah, well, they've just won the Club World Cup. He would say that. But he said they believed all along in the, quotes, value of the project. And they knew what they had, they knew the value of it, and it's come to fruition.
Yeah, well, of course he's going to say that. But, you know, their model that they're using from the States worked well for them before, you know, buying young, stacking it with talent. And then kind of giving the manager the optimum choices to go put it together.
Yeah.
The thing that works for me actually is the manager at the moment. He's doing a good job at it.
Absolutely.
You know, the spirit looks good.
Yeah.
You know, he's made some good choices.
Yeah.
The Palmer thing was obviously a real feather in his cap. It was a real coup. So, yeah, I mean, he's making a good job of a difficult situation.
Very much so. Of course, he talks about Maresca. He talks, Jeff, he's still digesting the experience of walking out at the end onto the pitch at the MetLife Stadium with Infantino on one side and President Trump on the other. He said it was surreal to say the least. But there we are. I mean, when you consider it, they took over in 2022 and since then have spent over £1 billion. It's estimated that winning this thing has won them 85 million quid. So Todd Boehly, true to his word, as I said, has a decent chat and a really solid message for Chelsea fans everywhere at the end of it. I'll be with Simon from 10.
Hey, Jim, looking forward to it. You don't hear from Todd Boehly very often, you know, he keeps his thoughts to himself, so very much looking forward to that. Thanks very much indeed, Jim. Jim's back with Simon at 10 o'clock. We're talking about random stoppages in sporting events. Ross says, watching New Zealand playing India in a one-day international in Napier in 2019, play was stopped for an hour due to the sun setting behind the pitch. Thank goodness that wasn't a problem at Lord's yesterday. England against India, what a test match it was. Here's talkSPORT's Sam Ellard on how England went 2-1 up in a thriller at Lord's.
Well, yesterday was a special day at Lord's, and yesterday was also exactly 6 years to the day since the most famous day in English cricket history.
Archer to Guptill, 2-1. He's got it! England have won the World Cup by the barest of margins! By the barest of all margins!
July 14th, 2019, England winning the World Cup by the barest of margins in the Super Over, and Jofra Archer played a pretty crucial role that day, but as Ben Stokes told us, his mind was elsewhere yesterday.
I just said to him this morning, I said, you know what today is, don't you? And I was like, that World Cup that we won? He was like, oh, that one.
Never changed Jofra. He was fully focused clearly on yesterday's action. India resuming 58 for 4, chasing 193. He picked up 2 quick wickets. India 8 down at lunch, fought hard in the afternoon. England picking up the 10th wicket after tea to win by 22 runs. Ben Stokes says it was a draining day.
Walked off the field there, whole new level of tiredness hit. Yeah, shouldn't be underestimated how the emotional and mental tiredness does also get you.
One bit of bad news for England. Ben Stokes confirming that Bashir ruled out for the rest of the series. So we go to Manchester next week with England leading this thrilling series 2-1.
Yeah, what a series this is turning out to be. Real iconic series. Let's wrap up all the drama of yesterday with former England spin bowler Graeme Swann. Morning, Swanee.
Morning, Jeff. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, doing absolutely great. I mean, I was going to say, we say this after every test at the moment. What a test match it was. I just want to talk, though, Graeme, first of all, about Ben Stokes. I mean, what a Herculean effort it was from him. And at the end, mentally and physically, he looked wiped out.
Absolutely. You got to remember, it's not just 5 days. I mean, how long is it? I spoke to you about 10 days ago after that last test. He was getting hammered by the press, by the cricketing public, because he'd stuck to his laurels, played his positive cricket, and they'd been smashed in a game. They got outplayed by India. Everyone turning on it, all the so-called experts saying, oh, this Bazball doesn't work. You even heard the Indian players chirping him during the game, saying, what's happened to Bazball, mate? And he stuck to his laurels. You can't underestimate how much, when you're getting a hiding from the press and when people are having a go at what you believe in, to then sort of stick with it. And then as that game got closer and closer to the end, I was on a committee meeting conference call and watching it out of the corner of my eye, and I nearly hit the roof when Bash got that wicket. I was absolutely buzzing for him. So Test cricket is brilliant. It's the best game, apart from Newcastle winning the Carabao Cup. It's the best result I've seen all year.
Brilliant, yeah. I thought the England bowlers early doors in particular were absolutely fantastic, and inevitably Jofra Archer got some of the headlines. It was a brilliant early burst.
Yeah, getting Rishabh Pant out, that was the match-winning wicket, really. India did incredibly well. I've got to take my hat off to India. This is as strong an Indian team as I've seen, without Virat Kohli as well. I didn't think they'd be as strong as this, but their bowling has been sensational and really kept them in this Test match. In fact, it almost put them ahead. And it was England's bowlers who really stood up on that fourth evening, really. But that Rishabh Pant wicket was an absolute beauty from Jofra Archer. Imagine facing the ball at 90 miles an hour that just nips away from you. And he's one of the best players in the world. So that was a match-winning moment for me.
Graeme, what do you think of the next test? Where do you see it going? Same sort of feel? Or?
Yeah, I think momentum's a huge thing in sport, as you know, and I'd love England to just kick on from here. Whenever you've had a really close Test match, there's always one team that seems to really accelerate, and the other one, you hope, just goes to sleep and sort of accepts their fate. So I'm hoping that happens. It's a massive loss not having Bash, Shoaib Bashir, because I've worked a lot with him, and for him to get that last wicket, I was absolutely buzzing for him, because he'd obviously broken his finger and he sat out sort of moping at the side like a little lost child for half the day. I was really rooting for him to get on, getting that last wicket, but he's not going to play at Old Trafford. Gives a massive opportunity for another spinner to come in, which you normally need at Old Trafford. But the Indian spinners haven't done very much in the series, so I think it's all set up. It's just Test cricket is alive. It's great to see.
No, it's wonderful. Look, plenty of sledging going out there, you know, and Siraj seems to be at the centre of absolutely everything.
Yeah.
He's the pantomime villain, isn't he? And I mean, I felt gutted for him in some respects yesterday, but it was great to see, you know, that Zach Crawley, Joe Root, they were straight over to him, you know, with an arm round him and a pat on the back as well. Is that the way it works in Test cricket, Swanee? You know, that whatever goes on the pitch after the game, it's all pals again?
No, these boys know what they're doing. It's all Instagram. It's all about image, isn't it? Fred did it years ago against Australia, put his arm around Bretley. They're all seeing it as their little Fred moment, Andrew Flintoff moment. They don't give a monkey. They're all over the moon. No, it is good. I really enjoy Siraj, you know. He's a very, very good bowler. He's taken a lot of people by surprise, I think, in this series, how good a bowler he is. Because we know Jasprit Bumrah is like the best in the world, but you think you get through him and the rest of them, you know, are good but not that good. But he has absolutely turned that round. He's world class. So, look, as I said, these Indian bowlers are very, very good.
Yeah, Siraj. Earlier on, I called him a street fighter. I think that's exactly what he is. Look, just touching on another topic, though, Graeme. The West Indies bowled out for 27 by Australia. Oof. Makes a great headline, doesn't it? A great headline. But West Indies cricket, what the heck can we do to help to restore it to somewhere like where it once was? You know, I grew up with watching some of the great West Indian cricketers, and I find it hard to see them reduced to what they are now.
I think we all do, to be honest, especially those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s when they had that battery of fast bowlers. But, you know, it's like the perfect storm. They're playing an Australian team who have just lost that World Championship. They're playing with a pink ball that swings round corners. Mitchell Stark's in the form of his life. It's one of those things that can happen. And it was at Jamaica as well, unless I'm very much mistaken, where England got bowled out for 40-odd. In 2008. So it's one of those grounds where strange things can happen. It can go into fast forward. I'd love to see them back to their former best, but I think they've kind of taken the dollar. A lot of the players have decided that franchise cricket and being a multi-millionaire is the way forward rather than sort of scraping by and playing Test cricket. So, you know, some people like the cash, some people like Test cricket.
Swanee, brilliant. We've loved the series so far. Looking forward to Old Trafford big time. Thanks a lot, mate.
Jeff, just before I go, can I say congratulations to Chelsea? Only spent £1 billion to win a pre-season tournament. Well done, boys. Brilliant. Good
Spoken luck. As a true Newcastle fan. Well done, mate. Okay, it's Graeme Swann, the former England spin bowler. We talked about reasons for play being stopped at sporting events. And Dave has said apparently play was stopped at West Brom because unbelievably one of them scored. Dave is a Wolves fan, of course. Just putting the knife in there a little bit. Look, let's take a look at what's coming up in the next hour of the show with Benchmarks.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Benchmarks Kitchens and Joinery. Get trade prices on kitchens to suit all styles and budgets at Benchmarks.
We'll build up to the Open Golf Championship at Royal Portrush. It gets underway on Thursday. Rory McIlroy hoping to avoid the horror start he suffered 6 years ago.
In 19, I probably tried to isolate. I think it's better for everyone if I embrace it.
We'll be joined by a man who burst into the limelight in 2016 at the Open, Andrew Beef Johnston. And we'll kick off the build-up to Usyk against Dubois on Saturday. Derek Chisora has already made his prediction.
Whatever happens, Wembley is going to be amazing. Save money, he's on Alexander Usyk.
It's live on talkSPORT, of course, on Saturday evening. Heavyweight boxer Fraser Clark will tell us if Chisora is right when he joins us shortly. Next, though, we're talking about Manchester United's naughty bench, only allowed to attend training after 5 o'clock. And that was our breakfast preview with Benchmarks.
Superstar Breakfast preview on talkSPORT with Benchmarks Kitchens and Joinery. All our Benchmarks kitchen doors come with a 5-year guarantee. Terms and conditions apply.
Good morning, Tuesday the 15th of July. It is 8:49. This is talkSPORT Breakfast. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with me this morning. Now, Manchester United's out-of-favour players have been asked to only report for training after 5 p.m. this week. That's once head coach Ruben Amorim and the rest of the first team squad have already left Carrington. Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho, Jadon Sancho, Anthony and Tyrell Malacia are not part of Amorim's plans for the coming season and were granted extra time away from the club to settle their uncertain futures earlier this month, which doesn't seem to have happened, by the way. What do you make of isolating players in this way, Pards? Did you ever do it?
Well, actually, my first job, reserve team manager at Reading, the great Tommy Burns come in and signed something like, he come in that window in between and he signed like 8 players, and that gave us a group of players that he didn't want to work with, and he gave them to me to look after. So I've been in that situation. They call it the bomb squad, you know, that was the nickname for it. And basically you know it creates really bad feeling, because actually the other players have a little bit of sympathy for the, you know, they don't want to see them isolated. The other players actually want them in the group. And it could be them. It could happen to them. So it creates a lot of friction. The players kind of get on with it, but they know where they are. They're all kind of just thinking about going elsewhere. But the general feeling is one of negativity around it all. Yeah. I don't think it's a wise move.
What do they hope to achieve? I don't know why you don't simply integrate them until it's time to move them on, unless you think they are such bad apples.
Yeah, and the concern I have for Amorim is it this his decision, because I know when Tommy did it, it was Tommy's decision, but I'm not so sure this one is. This might be from above, put them to one side. We've got to get them out. They obviously need to sort out the financial side of Man United, obviously the ticketing and everything else, where they've upset the fans. They're obviously trying to move these guys on, and the way they feel they're going to move them on is to isolate them, to kind of force the player, to force his agent to move on. But the bottom line is, in my view, you're devaluing them. And if I was looking to take one of those players, if I was at a Premier League club, I would be on a hard bargain, knowing exactly where they're training.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, troubled times at Old Trafford again. Time now for this.
I've looked at your x-rays and they confirm this transfer news has broken. I've heard he failed his medical. Welcome to Dr. Crook's surgery.
Yeah, Dr. Crook's surgery is open for business at 7 p.m. as our chief football correspondent takes your calls alongside his trainee, Dr. Ollie Klink. If you want to know what's going on with your club's transfers, who's in and who's out, or why they're not doing any business, you can call our man in the know, 03717 222344. And I'm pleased to say that joining us now is our doctor in the know, our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. Morning, Crookie.
Good morning. I don't know about a doctor's surgery. I think it's therapy that Manchester United fans need at this moment in time, seeing all their traditional rivals strengthen squads, and at the moment, just the one signing through the door at Old Trafford.
Yeah, just quickly, what do you make about, the bomb squad, the 5 who've been isolated by Ruben Amorim?
Yeah, I take on board what Pards is saying. It's not as uncommon as you think of football clubs to do that. I remember Aston Villa did it with several senior players, the likes of Alan Hutton, who actually managed to fight his way back from the bomb squad and get back into the team at one stage. I said when Ruben Amorim was appointed, the only way that this is a success is if he outlasts the bulk of the players in the dressing room, because you look at the last decade, there's a history of players undermining the manager, be it on social media in Jadon Sancho's case, or with what he said in the mix zone after the Europa League final with Garnacho, Rashford turning up late for training, obviously that trip to Belfast when Erik ten Hag was the manager. And I think he's had to try and weed out some of the toxic players in that dressing room. So I think most United fans are behind Amorim. I get Pards' point, though, in terms of transfer fees. Clearly, clubs are looking at those 5 players, and if they are interested in signing one of them, they're going to make a low ball offer, knowing that United and the manager are just desperate to get shot of them.
Most of the transfer headlines this morning, Crook, here about Hugo Ekitike potentially joining Newcastle United. Big price tag.
Yeah, 90 million euros, I think, is the fee that Frankfurt are touting around. This is a player who's been on Eddie Howe's radar for some time. He was close to joining a few transfer windows ago when he went to Paris Saint-Germain. Instead, didn't work out particularly well for him in the French capital, but he's gone to Germany, rebuilt his reputation. He's a goal every other game in the Bundesliga. Now, this isn't an indication that Newcastle are ready to cash in on Alexander Usyk, which I think is the fear of some Newcastle fans when they saw the story emerge last night. They're looking for a player who can play alongside Usyk and someone who can cover him as well, because obviously Callum Wilson rejected the offer of a new pay-as-you-play deal, so they are short in the striking department. I don't think this one is close at this moment in time. Newcastle have got a delegation over trying to agree personal terms with Ekitike. If they can do that, then they'll start talking to Frankfurt and make a formal offer. But I think there's going to be rival interest as well. I know he's on Liverpool's list if they can offload Darwin Núñez as a possible replacement for him at Anfield. So a lot of water to flow under the bridge, but it does show that Newcastle have got money to spend and they're going to be ambitious in this transfer window.
Oh, you mentioned Liverpool there. Reading stories this morning about Jean-Philippe Mateta's representatives meeting Liverpool officials in London. Anything on that?
Well, I think that's probably a reflection of the fact that, as we've spoken numerous times, Jeff, there aren't that many number 9s out there. And in Mateta, you've got a player who's proven himself in the Premier League. He was brilliant for Palace, not just last season, but the second half of the season before that as well. Played a big part in their run to the FA Cup final. So I think he's certainly on Liverpool's list of options. Again, I wouldn't suggest this is advanced by any means, and Palace are going to be desperate to keep him. That they've got a fight in their hands, haven't they? Not just when it comes to Mateta. We're expecting Arsenal to make a formal offer in the coming weeks for Eberechi Eze, although that may be dependent on getting players off the wage bill. I know Tottenham are admirers of Tyreek Mitchell, so it could be a long summer as far as Crystal Palace are concerned. And obviously, if they're not in the Europa League and only in the Conference League, that weakens their hand in terms of keeping their best players.
Pards, why are Manchester United not looking at someone like Mateta?
Well, I still think that there's that financial issue. Crookie would tell us more about, exactly where they stand with the in the rulings at the moment, but it doesn't look like got a lot of headroom. But the thing about strikers, when I was managing in the Premier League, is you need the balls to start falling. The big hitters to go first, and then, the next striker's available, and like Núñez, you're saying that Liverpool might go, might not go, and then that will free up Ekitike. So it all has to, it's all like a moving feast, and you have to time your move really quickly or get in. And that's what Newcastle look like they're trying to do here, I think. Trying to get in before anybody else and get it over the line.
Any more progress on the potential move for Morgan Gibbs-White from Forest to Spurs? Potential and contentious move.
Yeah, contentious certainly is the word. He reported for training yesterday, had a big smile on his face actually, as Forest deliberately, in my mind, posted a picture on social media of Gibbs-White returning with the rest of his teammates. I still think this move will happen. I agree with Simon Jordan, actually. It's easy to threaten legal action, but I'm not exactly sure who Evangelos Marinakis, the Forest owner, is going to sue here, because who's actually committed the sin in his eyes. Obviously, he feels like the release clause, which was supposed to be confidential, has been leaked to Tottenham. I was told at one stage, actually, he was threatening to pull the plug on the Anthony Elanga move to Newcastle because he didn't want to lose both players, but obviously that Elanga deal has now gone through. So I think Gibbs-White will play a game of patience. Tottenham seem quite relaxed about it. And I'm racking my brains. I think the last time that a tapping up allegation was proven was probably Ashley Cole. When he went from Arsenal to Chelsea.
Yeah.
It happens all the time now.
Yeah.
The way a modern transfer works is, and we're seeing it with Ekitike, Newcastle are going to try and get personal terms agreed with him, be it direct with a player or with an intermediary, and only then do they put an offer to the football club. So he, without sin, cast the first stone, as they say. I'm sure that Nottingham Forest, down the years, have approached intermediaries of players before they've gone to clubs.
Yeah, and the problem with when you've got these clauses, who releases that information of what the clause is worth? Obviously, the club is not going to do that, so it obviously has to come from the intermediary. So it is a problem, and but actually to go to court and go down the line of trying to get someone over the line for it is a business that I don't think it's possible.
Sadly, our 5-minute slot with Dr. Crook is over.
It's over? Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Thanks, Crookie.
No worries. I'm off to work on my bedside manner.
Our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. Up next, with clubs back in pre-season training for next season, Alan will give his insight on just how important it is that you nail this important time of year.
Newcastle have stepped up their interest in Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike. Talks have centred over what could be a club record offer for the 23-year-old. Frankfurt value the player at 86 million. As talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs explains.
TK was a target back in 2023 before he even joined PSG. And the feeling from Newcastle and other suitors is throughout this window, the Ekitike asking price, €100 million, will drop as the window goes on. So Newcastle think the timing is right now. They've not agreed terms with the player. They don't yet have an agreement with Frankfurt.
But it doesn't look like Newcastle are willing to move on Alexander Usyk. Meanwhile, in London, we understand Arsenal are set to approach Palace over a deal for Abachi Eze. He has a 68 million release clause, but the Gunners are going to try and figure out whether a deal might be possible without triggering it, because it looks like a pretty pricey transfer window for them at the moment. Right, Ben?
Arsenal have got this sort of rough budget of 300 million to spend. It doesn't mean it's a war kitty. It just means that within PSR, if they were to spend 300 million, some outgoings, of course, may be necessary as well, they've got that kind of leeway.
For a full rundown of all of today's transfers, head to our live blog at talksport.com. Now, Axel Tuanzebe, the new Burnley fullback, is taking legal action against Manchester United. He was an academy product at Old Trafford before leaving in summer 2023. He claims he received negligent medical advice in a specific time period from July 2022. And it's test week for the Lions. As they prepare to take on Australia on Saturday, talkSPORT caught up with number 8, Jack Conan, who says it's a pretty special week ahead.
Yeah, unbelievably special. Nice just to have a bit of time as well and not be playing a game in a day's time and having a bit of time to recover properly and get across a lot of detail, because obviously with the short weeks, trying to fit so much in such a short amount of time. So great to get a full week of prep and great to be back in Brisbane as well. So everyone's unbelievably excited for the challenge ahead.
Don't forget, talkSPORT will have you covered with all the games of the series.
4 minutes past 9 o'clock. It is Tuesday the 15th of July, final hour of talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Cock. Get the UK's best used car deals guaranteed. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with us. Still to come between now and 10. We'll ask British heavyweight Fraser Clark whether Daniel Dubois can upset the odds this Saturday and become undisputed heavyweight champion against Alexander Usyk. It's live, of course, on talkSPORT. And it's a great sporting week, isn't it? The Open gets underway at Royal Portrush on Thursday. Andrew Beef Johnston, who burst onto the scene in the 2016 Open, will be with us to look ahead to all of the action, which, of course, you can hear on talkSPORT 2. David's a Forest fan. He's texted in and he said, "Hi, Jeff, regarding the Gibbs-White situation, everyone's missing the point here. Marinakis isn't annoyed about the release clause or agreed terms with Gibbs-White. He's annoyed that Spurs have set up a medical for him without any formal agreement or contact with Nottingham Forest. That's the big issue. That's the illegal part of it." Could that be right, Al?
I can't imagine Spurs would do that, but I suppose anything's possible. I mean, you know, these deals are never done, so usually when the medical is, you only make the call to the medical team when the deal is done.
We shall see what happens then. Threats of legal action. I saw in the Athletic the situation was described as tense, but it was still thought that Gibbs-White would eventually join Tottenham. It's been quite a summer, hasn't it? Women's Euros still going on. Wimbledon, England against India. What a test series that's been. And of course the Open Golf Championship gets underway this week. Even the Club World Cup. It really has been a fantastic couple of months. However, listen up, football fans. The Premier League returns 1 month today.
It's talkSPORT. We are Premier League.
Pick up Saka on the follow-up and drills it home and seals the point for Arsenal.
Moose coming forward, shooting from the edge of the area, scores a wonderful goal. Oh, it's about 30 yards from goal. Oh, the Premier League, we've missed you. The ball's with Saka, it's low into the corner, and it is 7-0.
Puts onto his right foot, going to pull the trigger now, and finds the bottom corner. Alexander Usyk lights up St James's Park.
But lovely little turn. Cucurella in there. Powers home a header. It means that Manchester United will finish lower than in any other season since they were relegated 51 years ago.
Liverpool Football Club, for the 20th time, joining Manchester United at the top of the tree, are English champions.
Yeah, that's right. The Premier League returns. It's live on talkSPORT Friday night, the 15th of August, what will be a very emotional Anfield as Liverpool host Bournemouth. Now, before all that, the dreaded pre-season is well underway for, well, pretty much all clubs, some having already played their first pre-season game. Chelsea and Manchester City, of course, having taken part in the Club World Cup. Pardew, you're used to pre-seasons. What's pre-season like for a manager? First of all,
yeah, I used to like pre-season. I mean, obviously, most managers, particularly when you take over a club mid-season, desperate to get to the pre-season so that you can really do some work with the team, get some strategies in place, i.e., you know, plan A, maybe even a plan B or a plan C, even in terms of the players that you have. So you get all that nailed down. You do get some kind of piece from the media as a football manager in pre-season, which is nice. Everybody's calm, everybody's on the same playing field. You're all looking ahead. You might have a few players who want moves, etc., etc. So you still got the usual kind of pressures that come from the squad. But, you know, generally the spotlight's not on you, so you can do your work freely. And I think most managers enjoy pre-season.
What did you like to do with the squads? Do you like to take them away somewhere?
Yeah, I think most teams now go on a tour of some description. You know, sometimes there's finance involved, and you get a nice payday that helps the football club. And you know, these times are really kind of geared to a bonding of the unit. So not just the players, the staff. You have nights out. You might give one of your staff members. I remember at Newcastle, our 2 masseurs were probably more outrageous than any of the players. So they were, that was always a merriment and, goings on with them. And the players would find great fun in that. So staff members going out of their box a little bit as well, showing their characters. That's all good because you want everybody to kind of get on and have that good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember, I think it was the early 70s, when an ex-Royal Marine by the name of Tony Toms was what was called the trainer in those days. You called him the trainer. He was the trainer at Hartlepool, and for pre-season, he decided he would take the squad onto the North Yorkshire moors, armed just with tents, and leave them there for 3 days.
Great idea. Very similar to the idea I had to take Reading when I was first manager with the British Army up in the mountains of Austria. And they said to us, we're going to do this canoeing, kayaking down the river, which sounded like a very nice, peaceful journey. But of course, the mountains are melting during the summer period. It was a raging torrent. We all kind of capsized. We had a young Irish boy that literally floated for like 2 miles with his life jacket bobbing up and down, and I was thinking, what have I done? So you do get the odd moment when it goes completely wrong.
When Middlesbrough were in the top division, it was the first division, and John Neal was the
John Neal.
manager.
I remember John Neal.
And John, for pre-season, he used to take the squad.
Chelsea, John Neal.
He went to Chelsea. John used to take the Middlesbrough squad to Aberystwyth because the sand dunes there are like Everest. You think you're in the Sahara, and he used to run them up and down the sand dunes.
Painful.
And I went training with them once, pre-season training with them once there, and there was a lovely lad called Willie Madron, and Willie was in England under 21 international. He suffered a terrible injury, and we were doing some runs along the beach, and I was taking part of this, and Willie said to me afterwards, he said, I knew I was finished in the game when you overtook me on the beach at Aberystwyth. A poor lad was, and anyway, late and lamented by Middlesbrough fans, that is for sure. Were there any culprits for coming back horrendously overweight, horrendously unfit?
Yeah, of course. And we always have we used to have the cake competition. I think we did that at Newcastle. I'm not sure if I did it at West Ham, where the one that we fought, because it's not necessarily how heavy they are. You have a fat, they're all sorts of tests. But if you're kind of bottom of the tests, like, of endurance, fat test, etc., we would have the team assemble and deliver a great big cake to that person of a great summer, well done. And all the players would love that, of course. But sometimes, you did get a player in a terrible situation physically where they've just let themselves go. I remember Ricky Lambert, when I first was at Southampton. Wow, he come to us. He was like, what are we going to do with this guy? It was like, we just dragged him out of the lounge bar at the local pub. But we quickly got him into gear and obviously went on to have great success and play for England. So, the other story that always sticks in my mind was my old mate at Reading, Charlton, called Peter Garland, who was a midfield player who played for Spurs. Played for Man City too. He had this trick that when we used to get weighed then, and the scales were at the bottom, and it was on like a stalk, and on the stalk was like the reading of the weight, so it was like, sort of waist level, and he used to put his finger on there and put pressure on the finger, obviously, without anyone seeing, and take like 2-3 pounds off and always get underweight, and you keep looking at him thinking, I'm sure he's heavier than that. Yeah, it was brilliant. He said, watch me do it. And he used to put his finger on there. No one else would see it. His finger would be like bursting, the blood, pouring into his finger as he took the weight off. So all those little tricks,
Do you think times have changed? Because people talk about how professional players are now during the off-season. If you're like, will there still be a handful out there who are sort of miscreants and will come back a little out of shape?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that word means, but I'm guessing what it means. I think that always happens. You always get that footballer, actually, who physically doesn't look like they should be a footballer. You obviously get the specimens.
Are we talking Matt Letizia here?
Yeah, that sort of player. Yeah.
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, and even Joey Barton, or who I had at Newcastle. Sometimes you'd look at him and think, not really nailed down. The whole body thing. But Joey, be ringing me in a minute. But the bottom line is that most footballers these days are very professional. They're like chief executives of their own company. But it makes sense to come back super fit. And actually, some players, as you can imagine, are actually at the peak. They're peaking almost too early. They're so kind of ingrained in what they eat and what they do. It's like an obsession.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of chill them out a little bit and say, look, take them the other way. Look, just relax a little bit. Enjoy the pre-season. So it's all different.
Yeah, you do see it. Some players get up, brilliant starts, and then as the season goes on, just turn a bit stale, don't they? But look, a month today to the start of a new Premier League season. I can hardly believe it. Looking forward to it very much, though. Up next, we'll ask British heavyweight Fraser Clark just how Daniel Dubois begins to take on the task of beating Alexander Usyk. Good morning to you. It's 18 minutes past 9 o'clock. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with the Arnold Clark app. Buy a car and then join Arnold Clark Rewards to enjoy access to great giveaways and everyday perks. I'm Jeff Stelling. Alan Pardew is with me today. Now, this Saturday, the undisputed heavyweight title is on the line as Alexander Usyk takes on Daniel Dubois. Let's take a look ahead to the fight now with DAZN.
Big fight preview on talkSPORT with DAZN. Watch Usyk versus Dubois on the 19th of July. Live only on DAZN. Buy now at dazn.com/boxing.
All three in favor of the winner and the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
The first unified heavyweight champion from Britain in a century.
Lennox Lewis.
The Americans didn't want me to take it over to Britain, but I actually persevered and succeeded.
I'm in my prime of my career now, so it's now or never.
Down goes Joshua. Dubois hits him with a tremendous right-hand counter.
He slayed one king back in September.
Dynamite Daniel Dubois has detonated at Wembley Stadium.
He's about to slay another king on the 19th of July.
Bombs away. Are you going to knock him out? Bombs away, mate.
You dropped up from Dubois. He's put Joshua down. Alexander Usyk finds the answer.
In a minute, you have all the 4 belts and correct history.
You know what they say? We'll see. We'll see.
Heavyweight brilliance, heavyweight occasion, heavyweight radio. How about that?
Pod, you go into it.
Yes, I'm a guest of Majestic, the Super Match, who is doing the walk-ons.
Brilliant. It's one of those where you look at who you want to win, and I'm thinking Daniel Dubois, the Brit, obviously, but then you've got a great champion. You know, in Usyk, you don't really want to see beaten.
Yeah, I've always liked Usyk. I like everything he represents, you know, in and out of the ring. I think he's terrific for the sport. And what a great fighter he is, isn't he? I mean, you know, whoever he comes up against, he seems to find a way. Every time the fight goes on, he just gets stronger and stronger, doesn't he?
Yeah. It's live on talkSPORT on Saturday, of course. Let's look ahead to it now with heavyweight boxer Fraser Clark. Morning, Fraser.
Morning, lads. Morning.
Morning, Fraser.
Hey, Fraser, look, let's talk about Usyk first of all. Nearly 39. Surely he has to slow down sometime.
I think that's what Daniel Dubois and his team are banking on. They might have just caught him at the right time. But 39 years old, you know, really professional athlete, like if you ever seen one, and full of experience. So, you know, I don't think they could just count on him getting old overnight. No, I think it's going to take a lot more than that. But a fantastic champion. But like you say, you know, 39 years old. Is he going to have an off day? Is he going to be a little bit less than he has been? We don't know.
Where do you think Dubois can, obviously he's a big hitter. Do you think the early rounds are key to him, Fraser, for him?
I do, and I don't. I wouldn't like to see him rush his work and go out like a steam train, because I do feel like if that doesn't happen and he doesn't get him out of there, it could leave him very vulnerable the second half of the fight. But I understand he does need to use educated pressure. But looking for big shots against this guy is nearly impossible. You know, he'll see him coming. He can slip, he can slide, he can do it in close, at long range. He can do it also. I think some educated pressure and sort of build into the fight, but at a good pace.
Well, we all saw what Dubois did to Joshua. Has he got that genuine self-belief that he can beat Usyk?
I believe it's there now. I believe the first time they fought, it probably wasn't there. But over the last couple of years, Daniel Dubois, you know, the growth in him as a person and as a fighter has just grown and grown and grown. And now when you see him walk into a room, he commands respect. He's not taking a backward step, you know, in terms of being quiet or, you know, he just believes in himself. And you can see it as like an aura. It's coming off him. And I think Don Charles really adds to that. It really, really hypes his man up and makes him believe, but not just through not merit. They believe in the work they've done, the performances they've put on. You know, you can see it's like radiating off him.
No, I mean, it's really interesting because I think people used to doubt his resilience, if you like, but he's proved himself to be resilient in the last couple of years.
Yeah, you know, all them tough times and tests, you know, they happen in a career. You know, I think I think if you're a heavyweight boxer, you are going to have to come through trials and tribulations, and he's done that. He's come out the other side of it. Now, what that does for you in terms of your confidence and in terms of where he's at now, what can't speak, can't lie. We've seen it in the last couple of performances. He walks the ring with a purpose, looking to dominate. He did that against Joshua, and I'm sure on Saturday night we're going to see the same sort of ring walk. He's going for business. He's not going for anything else. He just wants to slay.
Yeah, and let's just say that Usyk does win. Fraser, where what would be his next fight? What do you see? You get sort of crystal ball. Where would you think he would go?
Well, we've got to have him as a favourite. So we have at the minute. We're predicting he does win. I think I'd like to see him with some of the other champions. Some of the other challengers. Your Joseph Parkers, your Ajit Kabayels. These guys have really earned their shot. The titles. They're great fighters. Obviously, we always go to the big names. Your Joshua or your Tyson Fury. But remember, these guys have earned it on merit. They've won the fights. I'd love to see him with Joseph Parker.
I mean, look, on the other hand, Dubois says he wasn't his best in the first fight. He describes himself as a man of the future, and he has to stamp his authority on this division. You sparred with them both, I think, haven't you, Fraser?
Yeah, I've been in the ring with both of them. And
how did that go?
It was never a nice occasion, let's put it that way. And I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but Daniel obviously is a huge hitter, is a huge presence, and he has bad intentions, whereas Alexander Usyk is a thinking, calculated fighter, calculated man who you can feel the experience when you're in there with him. He never under pressure. He always in control of his situations. But I'll tell you what they both are. They're both very determined. They both have big plans for the future. And I think it makes for a great fight. You've got both fighters going there to win and both trying to put on a show. Alexander Usyk to prove that, last time there was all the talk about the low blow. So I think it was going to prove that, he's still the man. And you've got Daniel who wants to take over the world and conquer the world. I'm really looking forward to it.
I think we all are. For Usyk, of course, it would be the third time he'd become an undisputed world champion. For
Fantastic.
For you, Fraser, is he one of the all-time greats?
Well, without a doubt, I think you only have to look at his resume from the amateur days, Olympic champion, undisputed cruiserweight, undisputed heavyweight champion. It goes without saying he's one of the best. And obviously to share that ring experience with him, I've been in the ring with a lot of fighters and he is right up there, if not the number one. He just got so much to him as a fighter, as a person, a great champion and a great man.
Look, I tell you, I was reading a piece this week from Donald McRae, who's a writer I really like in The Guardian, and he was talking about this fight. He said, it's almost gone under the radar. There hasn't been the hype I thought there would be around it. I think that's right, isn't it? You hear so much hype about so many fights, Ben against Eubank, so on and so forth. Yeah. But actually, it's the week of the fight, and we haven't had much hype.
I don't know. I think all the boxing enthusiasts, or like myself, I've been counting down the days. It's actually my daughter's due on the 19th, but I'm hoping she comes in the next couple of days so I can get to the fight. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and people should be looking forward to it. It's a fantastic contest. This is what we want out of boxing. We want the best fighting the best, and we've definitely got that in this fight.
Very, very, very much so. Look, Tony has texted and he said, lads, Daniel Dubois is a very shy, well-brought-up lad. It took time to bring the killer instinct out of him. He could knock a horse out. Well, we shall see at the weekend, won't we? Fraser, good luck with the baby.
Good luck,
let's hope it arrives at the right time as well. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Always take care, lads.
Brilliant. Looking forward to it. Go and who are you putting your shirt on?
Usyk.
Okay, fair enough. No doubt there, straight in with Usyk. I'm not so sure. We shall see. That was a look ahead to Usyk against Dubois with DAZN. Don't miss the heavyweight rematch for all the belts and, of course, the undisputed glory that goes with it. This Saturday, July the 19th, live only on DAZN. Buy it now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Big fight preview on talkSPORT with DAZN. Watch Usyk versus Dubois on the 19th of July. Live only on DAZN. Buy now at dazn.com/boxing.
Now, earlier on in the show, the man alongside me said Manchester United fans shouldn't consider their team safe from relegation next season. We'll speak to a Liverpool fan next and find out if he agrees. I know which way that's going.
Newcastle have stepped up their interest in Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitike. Talks have centred over what could be a club record offer for the 23-year-old. Frankfurt value the player at 86 million. As talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs explains.
TK was a target back in 2023 before he even joined PSG. And the feeling from Newcastle and other suitors is throughout this window, the Ekitike asking price, €100 million, will drop as the window goes on. So Newcastle think the timing is right now. They've not agreed terms with the player. They don't yet have an agreement with Frankfurt.
For a full rundown of all of today's transfers, head to our live blog at talksport.com. Now, Axel Tuanzebe, the new Burnley fullback, is taking legal action against Manchester United. He was an academy product at Old Trafford before leaving in summer 2023. He claims he received negligent medical advice in a specific time period from July 2022. And it's test week for the Lions. As they prepare to take on Australia on Saturday, talkSPORT caught up with number 8, Jack Conan, who says it's a pretty special week ahead.
Nice just to have a bit of time as well and not be playing a game in a day's time and having a bit of time to recover properly and get across a lot of detail, because obviously with the short weeks, trying to fit so much in such a short amount of time. So great to get a full week of prep.
Don't forget, talkSPORT will have you covered with all the games of the series.
Very good morning to you. This is talkSPORT Breakfast with Arnold Clark. Get the UK's best used car deals guaranteed. I'm Jeff Stelling. Alan Pardew is with me at the moment as well. We were going to talk to Paul, the Liverpool fan, a moment or two ago, because, in fact, we are going to do that, because Pards is predicting Manchester United are going to be in a relegation scrap. I'm imagining, I don't know how I've come to this conclusion, that Paul might feel the same. Morning, Paul.
Morning, boys. How are we?
Yeah, we're pretty good, mate. So what do you think? Do you agree with Pards? Do you think Man United will be in that relegation battle?
Possibly, but my favourites to go down are actually Sunderland, West Ham and Brentford.
Right, okay.
My old team. West Ham.
But to be fair, Mr. Pardew, you are the only football player that's ever made me switch the TV off. Because you scored a header against Liverpool quite a few years ago.
1990, that's right, yeah. One of the classic games, yeah.
Why do you think West Ham?
It's just that since Potter's gone in, he's not done anything. They've now got rid of Kudos, which was one of their best players. They've still got Bowen, but they just seems to carry the team on his shoulders. If he doesn't turn up, then nobody turns up. So I'm really concerned with West Ham at the moment.
I mean, there is a lack of business being done there, which is a bit of a concern. But as I said, unfortunately, some clubs have to wait until the big hitters make their moves for it all to come and sort of sort itself out and for players to become available. But I do hope that West Ham are going to do some business. I think their fans are desperate after the last couple of years. They've had a couple of poor years.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Brent, would you change your mind about Brentford if Brian Mbeumo stays there?
No.
Oh, right, okay.
No, I think the manager was the main reason they stayed where they were. I think they've been overperforming for the last few seasons under Frank, and now that he's gone and taken the majority of his backroom staff with him, I can't see anything other than relegation for those boys.
Just before we let you go, Paul, here's a tricky one for you. Who do you think will win the title?
I think it might be Liverpool.
I think you might be right. Anyway, Paul, thanks very much indeed.
Paul. Thanks, guys. Take care.
You too, mate.
I think he's right about Thomas Frank, though. I think he was getting absolutely the maximum out of that team. And now you put a young manager in charge to try and do the same.
But he may be brilliant. We don't know, do we?
No.
We don't know.
It's still a tough ask.
To
ask a novice manager to carry on from the work that Thomas has done.
Start his managerial career in the Premier League at a team which has overachieved
with all new staff.
Yeah. Oh, it's a big ask, but Keith Andrews, a sort of colleague of mine at Sky Sports, so I do really wish him well.
Yeah, sure.
Now, this epic summer of sport just keeps on giving. This week, of course, we turn our attention to golf. The Open Championship gets underway at Royal Portrush. Shane Lowry returning to the scene of his greatest triumph. Of course, he won there in 2019. He spoke to the media yesterday and says he's a better player now than he was 6 years ago.
Since 2019, apart from the COVID year, I feel like my golf has been okay. It's not been it's been very consistent. I feel like I've probably obviously not won as much as I would have liked, but it's hard to win out there. You just need to keep going day to day, week to week, and give yourself the best chances. And I've still got certain things that I'd really like to achieve in the game, and I'm working very hard at that. But yeah, I do feel like since 2019 I've been a different person, different golfer, and I feel like I've been better for it. I feel like I'm a better golfer than I was in 2019. I am a better golfer than I was in 2019, but it doesn't mean I'm going to go out and win by 7 this year instead of 6. It's just golf. That's the way it is. But I think as a golfer, you always have to look at it as the glass is always half full. You can't look at it any other way. If you look at it any other way, you're going to be in trouble. So I try and look at it that way all the time.
Well, look, let's look ahead to the Open, shall we, with a man who burst onto the scene in the Open Championship back in 2016. It's a good morning to Andrew Beef Johnston. Morning, Beef.
How's it going, guys?
Yeah, really good, thanks, mate. Look, Shane Lowry, we heard from him there. He's gone under the radar a bit, hasn't he? He won at Royal Portrush 6 years ago, says he's better than ever. Would it be foolish to rule him out?
Yeah, very foolish, yeah. He's grown up on links golf courses, and it's very wise words, what you've just heard there, You can play, and you do feel sometimes over a course of 6-7 years, you're a better player. And exactly what he said. It's so hard to win tournaments out on these tours. There's so many good players that you're playing against every week and stuff, and it's such fine margins and so many variables. It's a tough game, but it'd be very foolish to rule him out.
I mean, looking at Royal Portrush, obviously it's a links course. Is the driver the key? Is it hitting long and straight the key?
It varies. Like the variables in the Open, it can depend heavily on the weather, on the wind, what way the wind blows, what times it blows. You know, I played Birkdale in 2017, and I remember playing the last 2 holes, sweating, thinking I was just on the cut line. I teed off first on the Friday at 6:30 a.m. The wind picked up in the afternoon, and I was going into the weekend around mid-20s. So it varies so much on that weather, and controlling the ball flight, I think, is key. Hitting fairways is important, but it's really controlling that ball flight in the wind.
I mean, Beef, where do you see the title? I mean, I was just looking at a couple of stats here. Every 20 years, right, someone wins it back-to-back. So Tom Watson, 82-83. Tiger Woods, 2005, 2006. What about Xander Schauffele? You think he's got a chance?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where, like, these major tournaments, the field is so stacked. And I think there's 50, 60, 70 people within a chance of winning it. There's so many good players in this field. You can look at Rory, Xander, Scotty Scheffler, Lowry, there's Hatton, Fleetwood. I mean, there's so many good players. I've hardly gone into any of them, and I could be here the next 10 minutes naming players.
Yeah. I mean, John Rahm does well on links courses. DeChambeau, on his day, always a threat. When we talk about Rory, and to a degree Shane Lowry as well, and they've got to cope with the pressure of that home crowd, haven't they? Which I guess can be an advantage, but at the start of a round, we saw it with Rory 6 years ago, didn't we? The pressure of that home crowd can work against the home players.
Yeah, I think these guys have been in that position so much now, they're used to it. Rory didn't have the best time last time out of Portrush, but again, he's coming in off the Grand Slam win. He looks sort of rejuvenated after that. He played well last week. Again, it's a player you could never write off. I think sometimes the crowd spurs them on as well. So it can have that sort of disadvantage. But I think they're so used to it now after coming back and playing so many Irish Opens and Opens in Ireland in front of home crowds. I think Shane uses it to his advantage massively, but I think regardless, they're such seasoned pros. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do courses like Royal Portrush, do they come as a bit of a shock to any Americans who haven't played there before?
Oh, especially the weather. They think you can come over and think it's summertime there, and it could be like 10 degrees. Rain coming in sideways. It gets cold. Yeah, it can get cold out there, and I think like not playing in them conditions for a lot of them. Maybe they've come over and played a Walker Cup in the past, or and a couple of Opens and stuff, and maybe haven't had that kind of weather. It's so different. They feel the cold, but I think now almost some of the European players, we don't play in them conditions too much either, and a lot of guys playing in America most of the year as well can come back, and it can definitely sort of give you a wake-up call, that's for sure. And if guys haven't played the Scottish Open the week before, it's the change in how far the ball goes as well. If it's cold and it's windy, they could be playing in America and it could be 30 odd degrees and they're hitting a 9-iron, say 160 yards, and all of a sudden they're going to be hitting it 140 with a bit of wind. And it is such a big change, and you have to grasp that really quickly if you haven't come over and played a few links courses or the Scottish Open the week before.
And I also think that the American players in particular struggle when they hit a great shot, and obviously on a links course, it doesn't reward you. It bubbles, and it's travelled another 40 metres and goes in the rough, and then their mental kind of capacity to kind of go, oh God, I hit a perfect shot there.
Actually, that's provoked a thought. What you said, Jeff, earlier about, is it about driving the ball? And I would say, when I've looked at playing a links course, the first step is miss all the bunkers. Miss the bunkers, because, you know, Parkland course, you might hit it in a trap. You can still hit it to the green. Links golf, these pot bunkers, you're just coming out sideways and you're losing a shot straight away. And I think it's a real plot to get around these golf courses and go, do you know what? I'm going to hit 4-iron off this tee, take all the bunkers out of play. And if you avoid a lot of them and you don't go many bunkers off the fairways into the fairways, that's a good start. That's a good start to your tournament.
Well, look, Beef. Pards is going for Scotty Scheffler to win. I've got a sneaking fancy for Tyrrell Hatton. Who are you going to put your money on?
Yeah, I was leaning towards Tyrrell as well. He's been playing some good golf. Yeah, I'm going to lean towards Tyrrell as well.
Wow. I tell you what, if Rory or Shane or Tyrrell win it, what a party there'll be afterwards. Fantastic.
I heard Shane say that. He said if he wins it again, there's going to be a bigger party this time.
Impossible,
His
isn't it?
party last time was a week long. It was a week long.
Fantastic. Hey, Beef, really appreciate the time. It's going to be a great 4 days, I think, in Rod Portrush. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Beef.
Cheers, guys.
I mean, not everybody watches it on the TV, right? But that is the greatest beard I've seen for a long time.
Oh, wonderful.
Wasn't it? I mean, it is like full bushy.
One of the great
Brilliant
characters.
beard.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Talks a lot of sense as well. The Open Preview Show, by the way, back on talkSPORT 2 this evening. As Gary Partington, old mate of mine, be joined by talkSPORT Rupert Bell and Sean O'Brien to look ahead to the start of the tournament at Portrush. You'll hear from world number 2 Rory McIlroy, and we'll also be joined on the show by 7-time Ryder Cup champion Lee Westwood. Easiest way to listen is to download the free talkSPORT app and swipe across to talkSPORT 2. And I hesitated for a moment because just getting news in that Brentford have completed the signing of Jordan Henderson on a free transfer. The midfielder has signed a 2-year contract. The Athletic has reported on Friday that Brentford were set to make Henderson their first signing since the appointment of Keith Andrews. Well, that deal has gone through today. So, Jordan Henderson back in the Premier League next season. Andy's just texted in. He's been very succinct. Justin Rose for the Open. Up next, Pars will be unlocking the potential of 4 chosen players in our new feature, Alan's Key.
Alan?
At 9:49, Tuesday the 15th of July. Goodness me, how time has flown. We're at the last 10 minutes or so of the show. This is talkSPORT Breakfast, of course. I'm Jeff Stelling Alan Pardew is with me. He's finally here. The British Lions take on the Wallabies. Opening test of the series is this Saturday. It's live and exclusive right here on talkSPORT. Coverage starts from 10. Kickoff is at 11. Across the course of the week, former British and Irish Lion Ben Kay will be counting down his top 5 favourite Lions moments each day, with his favourite being revealed this Friday. We heard number 5 yesterday, so let's hear his 4th favourite all-time Lions moment.
I'm former British and Irish Lion Ben Kay, and as we build up to the Lions' first test down under against the Wallabies this weekend, I'm going to be counting down my top 5 favourite ever Lions moments. My 4th favourite Lions memory would be Brian O'Driscoll's try in the 2001 first test at the Gabba in Brisbane.
This is O'Driscoll! He's gone through! Oh, he's going! O'Driscoll for the post! Brian O'Driscoll! Oh, you beauty! That is incredible!
Really the launch of the legend that is Brian O'Driscoll. We all had heard about this young kid and seen this young kid coming through the Irish ranks, but this was where he announced himself on the world stage.
They call him God. Well, I reckon he's a better player than that. What a try!
Such a crucial moment in such a big game to create a moment of individual brilliance that still, in today's era, looks like an absolute worldie of a try.
The brilliant Irishman has cut Australia to pieces. Genius!
The Lions went on and won so well in that first test. Brian O'Driscoll announcing himself with his waltzing bod try.
Brian O'Driscoll, what a superstar. What a line that was in commentary. They call him God, but I reckon he's better than that. Absolutely fantastic. Of course, you can hear the coverage of the Lions test, the first test against the Wallabies this Saturday. It's live from Brisbane. Remember, on talkSPORT, 10 o'clock, our build-up starts, 11 o'clock for kickoff. Now we're going to move on to a feature we are calling Alan's Key, where Alan Pardew will give his selection of players to look out for next season and how to best unlock their potential for their respective teams.
Thorne flicked it on, and it's gone in! Pardew! 4-3 Palace!
You made Madge smile. You made him smile. Ridiculous. It was like man and boy on that court. It was embarrassing.
228 goals in 276 games suggests he's not bad.
This manager will not send his players under the bus.
This is the key so I can save you.
Yeah, Alan Pardew going to take a look at some of the faces that we might see a lot, or in some cases a little of, during the course of the coming Premier League season. And we've got 4 to look at.
I've actually got 5, actually.
You've got 5,
I've added another one, because I've got 3 that I think will feature for the clubs they're at.
Right.
Young players who I think could have good seasons and hopefully successful seasons. One, and he'll be very, very important, is Amad Diallo, Man United. I think, with the players, Rashford and Garnacho on the sidelines, he has got to have a massive season for Manchester United. And I think, from what I see of him, he's capable of it. So he's a real prediction, and I think hopefully he'll get the first start.
They missed him so much when he was out with that long spell of injury last season.
And he has this great ability to get in the box, arrive at the right time as a wide player, and brilliant bravery in terms of taking the ball on.
So Amad Diallo, key player for Manchester United.
Key player. I'm interested in this boy who's gone to Arsenal, this Mosquera, this centre-back, because they have had injuries there, and it's been an issue for them when they've missed the 2 main men. But 90 appearances for Valencia. This is no novice, this kid. He's got the stature. I think he'll play a big part in Arsenal's season. So that's my second tip.
I mean, the big thing for him as well is, La Liga's different from the Premier League, but he played 37 out of 38 Premier League games, La Liga games for Valencia last season, so he stays fit.
Yeah, and you know, La Liga is tough on centre backs. You got, you know, there's a lot of creative talent in La Liga, as you'd imagine. So you really got to have your wits about you. So you know, he's not like what we would class as a typical British centre back. Strong, aggressive, good in the air. He's quick. He reads the game, and I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Okay.
My third one actually is if Eze goes, which is possible. This young lad that Palace took from Millwall, Eze. Romain Esse. He's got an incredible talent and a typical Crystal Palace wide type of player. Like Balassi, like Zaha, he's got that kind of technical ability.
This is the boy who came from Millwall, isn't he?
Yeah. And I think you know, from what I'm here at Palace training ground, they have high hopes for him. So you know that as a release, if he goes for 60 odd million, it might give him a lot more opportunity. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, from a Palace perspective, all we seem to do is talk about the players that they might lose during the course of the season. But that's a reflection of how well they did last season, isn't it? I think another one there is Adam Wharton. Could be a key player for them this season.
Yeah, of course. And Adam Wharton is already a key player for them. You know, they got a great little underbelly there of young players. Yeah.
So who are the two who are more on the fringes then, you think?
Yeah, well, these two, this is where I'm saying to you, like the teams like Sunderland and that are fishing around for young talent to come in and be able to play in the Premier League. One is Mark Guihu of Chelsea. Guihu, I think you pronounce it, on a loan. I think he's not going to play at Chelsea. You know, obviously they've got a million names there, but he's a striker. He's got goals. He got 6 goals last year. He scored for Barcelona. They took him out of there on a kind of technical £5-6 million fee. I think he's a player, from what I've seen of him, who could do something in the Premier League.
He's just a kid. I mean, that would be my only question. He's 19, and we look at the others we're talking about, you know, Diallo's 23, Mosquera's 21. He's 19, still too young in the Premier League, unless you are absolutely exceptional.
Well, no, the other thing and sometimes I've taken these, so it's good to take a lone player as like a squad member. So you can use that type of player on the bench and you give him 20 minutes here, 20 minutes, and he can come on and just get you a goal and get you 3 points. And all you need is 10 wins to stay in the division. You know, if he gets you 3 wins with, you know, 5-6 goals, then, you know, that's like gold dust. And the other one is a little bit more obvious, and that's the England under-21 captain, James McAtee, who I thought was exceptional in that tournament. And he's kind of a number 10. You know, he's a thinking man. I wouldn't be surprised if Man City kept him around the team. But there is a possibility. If they loaned him out, I'd be straight on that queue.
Yeah, I mean, from his perspective, he got games last season, particularly towards the end of the season, didn't he? From his perspective, you just wonder now, he's 22. And obviously, he's got a lot of suitors. Whether a move might suit him.
Yeah, I think so.
Whether he's going to be on the fringes.
And it might suit Manchester City. If Manchester City feel they've got enough cover, you know, to actually loan him out and him to have a 20-goal season, 15-goal season in the Premier League, or, you know, it might even be in the La Liga or, you know, in the German league now, which is becoming favourable for a lot of our young players who have done particularly well. Obviously, Bellingham, the brother of, has just gone out there. So, but I'd like to see him play. I think he's one of those, you know, he's a joy to watch.
He's a talent. He's a definite talent. Al, enjoyed your company this morning, mate.
And enjoyed yours.
Yeah, very much so.
Nice to work with.
Have a great day, won't you?
Well, the boss of this stuff. Well done.
Now, last week, Jim White and Simon Jordan had former Crystal Palace co-owner John Textor live in the studio. Stay tuned next, because they'll speak to Chelsea's co-owner Todd Boehly just days after seeing his side win the Club World Cup. Does he believe that they can mount a serious title challenge? Find out next with Jim and Simon.